It don't matter. It had one more than what it was supposed to have.
Or one less. Either way you look at it.
It wasn't right.
Never really got into The Simpsons. I never did.
I mean, Davis Betsy's over here.
Hell, you just go to freaking Hot Waters. Or, hey, go by the steel mill.
Betsy's electric current. Electric plant. I will run my run to you. Forever young. Oh.
I don't think that was part of it.
I feel like playing the congos to this.
It reminds me right now.
kind of like Chevy Chase in the Paul Simon video. You know, all of a sudden he pulls out the congos, starts playing. Yeah, see, see.
Yep.
Doug's got it. or this is remember Art Bell or George Norrie from that's what it kind of sounds like.
Getting a flashback from the 80s.
Sounds about right.
All right, everybody, welcome to Dueling Aces for June 24th. And as we are, of course, missing our friend Shrods for this evening's broadcast, we know he'll probably be jumping in sooner or later to drop his 3 cents worth in the comments. As always, we've got Suds, Mr. Zolt, the Demon Dueler down there in the corner. How you doing?
How you doing?
In the corner or the center, depending on which screen you're looking at. And of course, Akers, who seems to be sitting in the dark. Have no idea what that's all about.
I ain't touching that with his
We're
fishing
in the
pole.
basement. So I don't know if we should be slightly concerned or not.
It's Akers.
And
Never
of
be
course,
concerned.
the one
He's
and
messing with his fishing
only
pole.
Mr. Burrich.
I'm going to say this politely to Mr. Akers.
How you doing?
AFOU.
He went Italian.
Let's
Yes.
see how long I can last tonight on the air.
It depends how bad that argument was with your wife.
Oh. Oh.
Hello.
Internet shut down in 20 minutes.
I was about to go T-minus
I'll take
10.
the under.
Click.
That was quick. Mike, you're very welcome. Mike actually turned around and I sent him a turn ahead the clock jersey, an Indians jersey that he happened to mention to me about. And I said, hey, look what I found. So it looked pretty smooth, Mike. You're very welcome. And I will have to get in touch with you about what color you want the shirt, by the way, since you did win that trivia question last week. Which means you're ineligible this week for this question.
That wasn't part of the rules.
I'm sorry, Suds.
He
It's not
makes
your show. Get your
I
own.
think we got more than one viewer.
Girls, we don't need no stinking
Nobody
rules.
wins because there ain't nobody else watching.
Sean, what's up? How you doing?
No, I got a question, George. What if two viewers answer the question simultaneously? Did they get half a shirt?
Nope. Whichever one pops up in the
Pops up
comments
first.
order first.
Ah,
Yeah.
I'm taking that to a court of law.
Yeah. Well, go for
Sud,
it.
you want to be my lawyer?
Oh, that's a losing case.
Oh.
You're a liar, so.
Wow.
Shots fired.
Woo.
Shots fired
We're not even
already.
5 minutes into the show,
Damn.
Damn.
but I digress.
I thought this week would be nice and mellow.
Not a
That's-
chance. Since when are we nice and mellow?
Suds, I mean,
I
Joel,
try.
Come on.
Right? Exactly. That's awesome. What's up, Colleen? Thanks for joining us. And everybody else who happens to be joining in and tuning in on Dueling Aces tonight. We are covering players who have changed the game.
Or coaches.
Or I was getting there.
Hey.
Get him.
Mute him.
Oh.
Mute him.
Hey, you should do like what they do on what's the show on ESPN?
Yeah,
For,
we try not to name
No,
it.
yeah, I know, but like give a prize. Give a prize give a prize for to someone whoever gets muted the most on the show.
Oh no,
It's
you can't do that.
No.
Yeah, right.
Yes, it's gonna be such every time. You'll say
Give
something.
the
just
Suds
to get-
prize then.
Really, you would just call it the Sudbury
Yeah.
Tour.
Sudbury rule.
I win, bitches.
He already has a rule named after him. I really need to get a trophy named
Yes,
after
you do.
I'm kind of
You
disappointed.
do. I need a trophy named after me, baby.
I'm kind of disappointed.
You just
because
gotta find a
soccer ball
bobblehead.
behind you. No soccer ball behind you.
Listen, I've always wanted to get the Batman symbol. Did you all hear about Batman?
Yeah. All right, come on,
Michael
George. Let's go.
Keaton. Yeah.
Michael fucking
Come on.
Keaton.
He's like 80 years old.
He's gonna play the old Batman. He's gonna be in multiverse, and he's gonna go back. Flash is gonna go, and he's going to be mentoring the Flash.
Is
It's gonna be an old Batman.
Is Fat Val Kilmer going to come in too?
Oh God, I hope not.
He wasn't Batman.
Oh,
Yeah, he
Who
was.
the worst Batman?
He's
Yeah.
No, he was not the worst Batman.
No, I said who
No,
was the
no.
worst Batman?
George Clooney.
George Clooney.
Yeah.
I
Clooney.
gotta agree. I think Michael Keaton, because he was the first Batman. I think
He was not
actually,
the first Batman. He was the second
I
Batman.
know, but I think what's his name?
First
Adam
and
West.
Adam West.
Adam
What's that?
West was the best Batman.
Yes, Adam West was. Michael Keaton was, I believe, the best Batman, followed by Adam West, and then Christian Bale, and then I don't care about anybody else. Everybody else sucks.
Kind of like James Bond. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Michael Keaton and Adam West were asked to do two completely different things.
Yep. Agreed.
I mean, there's no doubt about
Oh,
it.
wait. Two different costumes, first of all.
Well,
Yeah.
Nice.
And Adam West actually was the first one to play Batman in a movie. There was a Batman movie with Adam West.
That's
in it.
right.
Now here you go, Suds. Who played the Penguin in the original Batman series?
Oh shit, I can't remember. He was the guy who played. Hold
Hold
on. He played in Rocky.
Yes.
The first movie. I can't remember his.
Yes.
Meredith.
yeah, something.
Burgess Meredith.
Thank you, Burgess Meredith. Yep. He played
Scott
in
was
Rocky.
the, Mick in Rocky.
Yep,
He was the
Mick.
trainer. Okay, George, your show. Go ahead, bud. Thanks.
Sorry.
That's funny.
Hey,
I didn't know
I had
that.
to steal it.
You said that, I see the face.
It's
Everyone look up.
It's funny that you should mention the Penguin though, because right across the street, there, our neighbor is raising ducks and chickens, and every time the duck makes a sound, it sounds like the penguin going. Wah, 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 wah. So if you hear that in the background,
Only
that's
in
the
fucking
duck
Detroit.
strains.
So I guess we should go to hockey.
welcome, Jessica Felice, checking in on us tonight too. Doug, there's a blast from the past.
Jessica Felice, holy shit! Hey, baby, how you doing?
No.
That was pretty creepy.
Yeah.
What has happened?
No, I've known her for a long time. She's
Doesn't
a
make it less creepy.
she does cosplay, and she's also a very, very good horror actress. I highly recommend her for any horror film that you have. Just for the film folks watching it. I can't
Yep.
say enough good things about her. I love her like a sister. I mean, come on.
All right, Sudsy, this is your bad boy. You came up with this excellent topic for the players and or coaches who have changed the game, either by plays or by rules, as we've fumbled through that this week for our assignments. So I will let you launch it off first, sir. The ball is in your court.
So I want to start off with the NBA. A gentleman named George Mikan, better known as Mr. Basketball, probably changed the game more than any other player, especially since the game was damn near brand new at the point. he was the Shaquille O'Neal in the 1940s and 50s. When the average center was between 6'4" and 6'6" at best. He stood at 6'10" and weighed 245 pounds, which actually is comparable to Shaq. They didn't really keep track of rebounds. He averaged over 19 points a game, with the fact that there was no shot clock at that point in time. He dominated, and they actually had to change several rules just because of his ass. The goaltending rule came into effect because of him, because he stood by that rim and just was knocking the ball away every chance he got. The 3 seconds violation because of him, because he was just standing there waiting for people to show up or posting up, and nobody could stop him. He's originally in the NBA. He wasn't even in the NBA. He was at NBL. Their lanes were only 6 feet wide when he first got in. But because of his dominance and because he could step in there and just pick the ball up, they actually widened it from 6 feet to 12 feet. So you have the 3 second violation, the shot clock, the lane violation. Also because of him, 2 years after him, they also into the NBA. They actually had the Mikan rule, where they came up with a shot clock, because at one point in time
I have the video for you ready to go.
Okay, the Fort Wayne video.
Yeah.
Yep. So Fort Wayne actually sat there and held onto the ball so much during one game that the final score was, I believe it was 18-19 for the entire game.
Barn burner.
Because they sat there and just dribbled the ball around just so they could keep it away from him, because he was so dominant. Hit it, George.
How did they do against the Flint Tropics?
Mikan drill. For those that don't know how to basket and work on making the match.
Zolt, you want to say something? I know
No.
We're not showing a video, or are we having issues?
His entire career in the NBA with the Minneapolis Lakers.
There it is.
He never got to experience Ellie on the court, but his name is rightfully in the rafters of the Staples Center. Now we honor Mikan, aka Mr. Basketball, with a look at his top 5 all-time moments. At number 5 comes Mikan's impact on the rules. At 6'10" and 245 pounds, today George Mikan will be an average power forward. For the 1940s and 50s, this guy was gigantic. He was so big, 2 famous rules were created to control Mikan. Mikan would routinely goaltend the ball, leading to, as you might guess, the goaltending rule. It's hard to believe, but before Mikan, tall players weren't really part of the game, so people taking the ball off the rim wasn't a concern. Mikan was also so big, it was ruled the lane had to be widened from 6 feet to 12 feet to control Mikan's impact on offense, now known as the Mikan rule. Nothing speaks to dominance quite like rule changes with your name attached. In at number 4 comes a moment you won't believe. Before the days of the shot clock, a team could hold the ball as long as they liked. The Fort Wayne Pistons did exactly this against the Lakers the 1950-51 season to keep the ball from the dominant Mikan. The Pistons won 19-18, but Mikan scored 15 of those points, giving him the highest percentage of team points scored by a single player ever at 83%. Trust me, this is never happening again. That season, Mikan averaged a career-best 28.4 points per game. To number 3 we go in the 1953-54 season, where a 29-year-old Mikan guided the Lakers to their 3rd straight league title and 5th in the previous 6 years. Mikan would retire prematurely following the season, and he averaged 18.1 points per game and 14.3 rebounds. The title cemented Mikan's legacy as the best player of his era. He returned in the 55-56 season, helping the Lakers to clinch a playoff berth, and then retired for good. In at number 2 is a memorable performance from Mikan in 1949. Before joining the NBA, the Lakers competed in the BAA, the Basketball Association of America, and Mikan led the team to a championship victory over Washington. In Game 5, Mikan, battling a broken wrist and wearing a cast, scored 22 points. Despite a loss in that game, Mikan and the Lakers came back to win the series in Game 6 with a 77-56 win. Mikan averaged a ridiculous 30.3 points per game during that playoff run.
A broken wrist.
Number 1
With a cast on it.
The NBA. The start of the new league in the 1949-50 season saw Mikan and the Lakers dominate. Mikan averaged 27.4 points per game and leading the Lakers to a 51-17 regular season record. In the 1950 NBA Finals, Mikan powered the Lakers to a 6-game victory over the Syracuse Nationals for their first ever NBA crown. His 31.3 points per game average in the playoffs carried the Lakers. So there you have it, a look at one of the all-time Lakers greats. For his efforts, Mikan was inducted into the first ever class of the NBA Hall of Fame and was selected as one of the NBA's 50 greatest players ever in 1996. So how many of you knew all of that about George Mikan? More importantly, when are you going to start working on the Mikan drill? Let us know down in the comments.
I knew that.
And that was Minnesota Lakers first.
Yes, I was about to say, let's not make it clear. The Lakers don't get to claim that shit. It was Minnesota Lakers. It's a Minnesota championship right
just
there.
always remember, the Lakers in LA are called the Lakers where there is no lakes. Just want to make sure that's clear.
Exactly.
What's up, Doug? How you doing? Clint, how you doing?
No,
Glad to
Doug,
see
you're
you
not
guys.
wrong.
Glad to see you guys.
Not
join-
you, Doug.
Not you, Doug.
You just sit there and look pretty, Doug.
Thank you.
Oh, failed miserably.
That means so much to me. Thank you, sweetie.
Yeah, you got a better chance of chasing around that pussy again.
Oh,
There we go.
wow! Really?
Yep. He took the first
Ooh,
shot.
We jumped the shark quickly.
No, we jumped the shark the first 5 minutes when you
Yeah, I know.
muted my ass.
We swim with sharks all the time.
This is true. This is true. Who wants next on their MLB, or I'm sorry, NBA?
Does anybody have the same person?
I'll
Really?
take next. I'll take next because it's
No.
kind of a short
Really?
one. So
No, they do not. They do not. They do not, sir.
Go ahead, Ryan.
They do not.
So, mine's a duo. This duo actually, to me, started the fascination with the NCAA basketball tournament with their title game in 1979. So everybody probably knows who that is now. I'm talking about Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Once they had that title game, NCAA basketball went through the roof. Once they start playing in the NBA, you had Magic Johnson, a 6'9" point guard who was quick, fast, and doing things that a 6'1" point guard could do. You had a 6'9" Bird who was shooting the lights out like a 6'3" shooting guard. They actually, if you look at it, they actually set up next 40 years of the NBA where taller players were able to shoot more three-pointers. Taller players were able to not have to play under the basket all the time. And they brought a type of rivalry in the 80s that to me personally, I don't think you see anymore in the NBA.
No, that rivalry was epic. Absolutely epic.
I think once
Wasn't there a famous shot of a photograph of Bird grabbing Johnson by the throat in one of the playoff games?
Oh yeah, I mean they hated each other on the floor, but when off the floor, hey, they were not chummy. They were not going out to dinner all the time. They were
They're
friends.
cordial.
But when you're on the floor, those two did not hate. They did not like anybody else except their teammates. But once again, the NBA, they actually, I think, elevated not only with them but their teams, elevated the NBA where people wanted to watch NBA basketball all the time. And once I think Jordan retired and everybody started just moving all over the place with free agency, you don't get the rivalries anymore like you did in the 80s. So I think with them pushing, having that title game in the NCAA tournament in 1979 in Salt Lake City, they raised the bar for NCAA tournament and everybody wanted to watch it ever since. In the 80s, I forget how many times they met in the finals. What, 3 or 4 times they met in the finals?
At least
3 times, I think it was.
Yeah. And plus the regular season.
Oh yeah, it's so they elevated the NBA game so much because everybody wanted to see them play. And then Jordan kind of took over after they both retired for different reasons. Magic with HIV and Bird with his back. and Jordan carried it on until late 90s. But to me, the influential part for them was the NCAA tournament and them playing in the ABA and meeting almost every year in the finals. That made people want to watch them more and more every year. So my influential, players for NBA are Magic Johnson and Larry Bird.
I think you missed. You had the right idea, but I think you missed one of the major points. Magic Johnson changed the game more than any individual in the 80s and 90s. He was 6'9" at playing at point guard. He also was the first NBA player to play in every single position, including head coach and player at the same time. He was the only player to ever do that. Yes, he was. He coached the Lakers, a player coach as the Lakers.
Bill Russell did it back in the 50s and 60s.
Did Bill Russell play point guard?
Oh, okay.
Shooting guard?
LeBron did it when he was in 2014.
I did mention
who did that?
I did say Magic was a 6'9" point guard who was doing stuff that is usually a 6'1".
Right, but my point was that Magic actually played in one season. He started at point guard, shooting guard, powered forward, small forward, center, and at the same time he coached in 2 of the games that season. He played in every single position, and no player in the history of the NBA has accomplished that. And he did something that no one else has ever done.
The other thing with them, too, is they were more about shooting than anything else. If you look, you rarely saw them, Magic or Bird, dunk a basketball. I mean, it was. I think they show the same 4 or 5
Larry
videos
Bird couldn't get off
Larry
the
Bird
damn...
dunking a 2-hand dunk. I think that's the only one that actually got on video of him dunking.
He dunked it one game, and he swore he would never dunk it again because he had such a bad back that by grabbing a hold of the rim, it actually hurt him so badly that he promised he'd never dunk again.
But to me, those 2 guys made basketball
great.
They heightened it because of their college and their pro career in the 80s.
Yep, absolutely. But Magic Johnson was right there on the top of my list of players who changed the game. There was nobody there. And, if you really look at the NBA right now, can you name another 6'9" point guard?
No. I mean, LeBron, but
LeBron's not a point guard. He's a power forward.
I know. I was going to say he's not considered a
right. He is a real point guard. Even at the height, even in the 80s and 90s, coming up would have been Penny Hardaway at like 6'7".
Most of the time back in the day, though, the point guard was the leader on the field. The person telling everybody what to do on the court. And Magic being the number 1 guy in the Lakers, he had to be in that position.
Now I got a little something for you too that I'm going to queue up here for you.
Hold on, George. By the way, I'll wait till after this. Go ahead.
You crazy? I didn't become Magic overnight.
Crazy. I'm not shooting no commercial with Larry. So I said, okay, what, we're going to shoot it in L.A.?
I would never went to L.A. to film it.
Well, where are we going to shoot it?
It's from
in my house.
I was like, oh, no. One stoplight. And I thought Lansing was small. I think the plan was, I'm going to go here, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do, and I'm trying to get up out of here. My plan was that.
Even after Converse had convinced Magic and Bird to film a sneaker ad together in the summer of '85, a question remained. How would the 2 hated rivals on the court get along off of it?
I don't know how he's going to react. I don't know how I'm going to react. We didn't even shake hands, so how are we going to do a commercial together?
The ad was to be filmed at the home Bird had built for his mom. It featured a full-length basketball court, the day's first location.
So they say, okay, you're playing one-on-one, and I'm looking at Larry, and he's looking at me like, is this real? Are we playing? Because, this is Magic and Bird.
I could just hear Larry, starting in on,
well, he looks just like him.
I'm on 30 rows up.
So the guy was like, no, not like that. A fun game. We were both like, oh, okay. Like, like you can see this relief coming over both our faces.
That brief détente led to the next stage. dialogue.
We sat down next to each other. How was your summer? Oh, it's going good. How was yours? It's going great. He said, man, it's a nice spread you got.
And he's asked me, is this where you play? I said, yeah, I play here if it's not windy. If it's raining or windy, I go to the gym. But this is where I do all my work.
I see that tractor. You work on the tractor? He said, man, I work on this tractor every day. Larry Bird work on a tractor? He said, yeah.
It's just them two walking and talking, and every once in a while they'd stop and one of them would say something, and then they'd start laughing.
Then they said, okay, break, it's lunch break time. I was going to my trailer. He said, no, my mother has prepared lunch for us up at the house.
We went up to the house and we sat down there and we talked, and my mom, my brothers thought the world of him.
His mother was so nice, making sure I had enough to eat. I just saw my mother. It was crazy.
He charmed her. I mean, you can see it, but that's magic. He makes everybody feel welcome and warm, and he's a con man.
And while magic charmed Georgia Bird, it was someone else who intrigued her son.
He met Irvin at lunch.
Irvin is a good dude. I like Irvin a lot better than Magic.
I was just so happy to finally be Irvin with him, because Magic was like, I don't know if I want to get to know this guy. But Irvin got a chance to talk about family, how he grew up. We just became two relaxed guys, just talking.
That day was great. It was a great day. Beautiful day.
You crazy.
He had no spot talking about Larry's home coming from the inner cities of Lansing.
By the way, George, I just want to tell everybody that Keg is back.
Oh.
Continue, my son.
No,
First keg.
you had anything to finish up with Magic and Bird? You had
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Who's on next?
Come on, Zolt.
Who's on deck?
Go
You
for
want
it.
me to go next? I'll go
Yeah.
next. All right. So I tackled things slightly different, but we said players that changed the game, rules had to be created for them. I started looking for oddities.
And I have your video when you are ready, sir.
All right. Let me just hit some background here. January 15th, 1990, New York Knicks versus Chicago Bulls. Go ahead and hit it, and then I'll explain what we just saw.
It up. Jackson looking for Ewing. Tucker launches it. It's good! It's good! Yes, it is possible to shoot with 1/10 of a second left.
.3. .03.
All right.
Yeah, we can cut that. Okay. Yeah. So what we just saw was game tied 106-106 with 1/10 of a second left on the clock. Mark Jackson inbounds it to Trent Tucker, who spins and hits a three to win the game with 1/10 of a second.
Not possible.
It stood, and after that, the league created what is known as the Trent Tucker rule, which states that if you have less than 0.3 of a second, the only way you can score is on a tip-in or a lob. You cannot inbound the ball and shoot the ball. It just isn't possible. It's just interesting that they felt the need that they had to create a rule to state you have to have this much time to shoot.
Well, because you had favorable clocks.
Yeah.
A little delay on hitting that button to start off with, and allowing your whole
Player
field
to turn
team.
around.
Yeah, you cannot possibly catch the ball and turn and shoot. Hell, you can't do it. You can't do it in a half a second, short of 1/10 of a second.
Funny part is refereeing basketball.
We just saw it.
Refereeing
Yeah, bullshit,
basketball,
we did.
they pounded that into us. They said anything under .3, game's over. Okay, no problem. I can live with that.
Well, I mean, if you sit here and think about it, the person is inbounding, throws it up. Clock doesn't start until someone inside the court touches it.
Right.
So we throw it up like the Muggsy Bugs back in the day, where he throws it up and just jumps up and touches it up into the rim, flips it over to the rim. That's legal.
Yeah.
Right.
But what he did was catch the ball,
Take 5 steps.
facing the audience, turn and shoot, and do it in a tenth of a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nah.
So that's why I say, it's like saying someone's slow.
Defy the laws of physics there.
Yeah, think about it. Think about it. This is the 10th. This is a 10th. That's come on. You can't put your hands together faster than you could shoot the basketball with
What's
that
a
much
dime?
time. What's that?
It's a dime.
But yeah, that was the right rule and a good call, by the way. That was a good move. That was a good rule for them to implement too.
Yes.
They went, yeah, somebody got screwed.
Yeah. And with respect, not being a basketball guy, I didn't know that one. It's a good rule.
Yeah, definitely a good rule.
Yep.
100%. Doug.
Yes, sir.
I do not, even though I don't have anything queued for it, you want to go ahead and mention the scrub that you have listed? I'm sorry, person that you have listed. I don't.
It's a real small blurb. Charles Barkley and the Barkley rule, stating that you can't turn your back to the basket until you're below the foul line, and you can only do it for 5 seconds, because he was absolutely notorious for turning his back way out and just taking his time going backwards to the basket before he turns around and shot. And the official said, nah, I think we got to cut that right off. So they instituted the Barkley rule.
Called the bubble butt rule.
Butt rule, yeah.
There was several players that were involved in that too. The former point guard for the New York Knicks used to do the same shit.
That's Starks?
Yep, Starks. Former head coach.
Mark Jackson.
Mark Jackson.
Yeah.
Former head coach for the Warriors.
Yeah.
He used to do that. He at half court, turn his back, and then pound your ass all the way down to the baseline, and then do a layup. But yeah, that's a good one. Charles Big Ass Barkley.
It's the only way he could get anywhere near the rim.
It worked
up
though.
and just.
All I know is though, if he picked up the head of steam, you better just watch the hell out, because he'd run your ass over.
Literally.
And it would hurt.
Karl Malone used to do the same stuff, but he'd do it straight up. He'd bring up that knee, and he'd put that knee right in your chest. And if you don't get out of the way, you're gonna get you could get hurt.
In Orlando, last game, Dennis Scott was starting. Bowie was coming off the bench as Hill follows and does bring down the entire backcourt.
Oh, that's one we haven't seen.
God, I remember that day. You didn't even show the one where he broke the backboard in college.
I think he left us.
I think
George has left us. He'll be joining us shortly.
Yeah, he left us.
He is frozen. He's picked Shaquille
Look at that face.
O'Neal. And she's like, oh shit, I gotta push this thing all the way to the back because it's not gonna get fixed.
He's back. He's back.
Badass.
All right.
Welcome back,
It's
George.
slowly coming back. Slowly.
George
He's like,
got
what
that
do you
look
got?
on his
Come
face
back,
like,
come
what
back.
the hell
What the hell are
happened?
you talking? Yeah.
O'Neal
We'll see that replay.
stuffs anybody down. He brought the whole goal down. Goodness. Oh boy. Man. Well, I'm just glad he wasn't hurt that time. I mean, that thing came straight down. He brought the whole thing down. Oh, it broke off right on the fringe there, on the hinge there. Unbelievable. Oh, man. He's done it in Phoenix. He's done it in the biggest media market in the world. Look at this. Unbelievable. There was a foul on the play, too, but that accidental.
Offensive foul for breaking a damn rim.
But the problem is now.
Rumor has it he had to pay for those.
Well, those
Really?
were his first two that he broke.
Well, when he was in college, he it was kind of funny that he actually jumped up and slammed on it, and he actually had the rim coming down in his hands. He hit the ground, shattered the backboard so bad. The college didn't even have a backup hoop. They had to cancel the game, and it was only before halftime. Had to forfeit the game because they didn't have a backup backboard.
Well, they actually happened in one of the other in an NBA game, specifically the one that you showed where it lowered down. They had to wheel that thing out, and they had to come from a different area, one of their practice areas, and bring in their rims in order to continue the game.
Yeah, because every once in a while they'll show, before the Cavs had their practice facility in Independence, they would show practice at the Q, and they would have like 6 of those rims or 6 of those stanchions, whatever you want to call them, in the middle of the floor or all over the floor. So I think they always have a good 3, 4, 5 of them at the game just to make sure nothing else happens. But
yep.
Well, he broke the hydraulics on that one.
Yeah, he blew his shock out so bad on that one.
Yeah,
they've been all been reinforced too.
They called it shack proofing it.
They reinforced all their rims.
Akers, you also had something else about Shaq too, didn't you?
I mean, what do you expect with that? The guy's 7'1", 320 pounds. Okay. He is my player that I'm going to talk about. I mean, we call him Shaq, the Diesel, the biggest throttle, Superman, Shaq Fu, Shaq Daddy, and the Big Warrior.
Shaq Fu. Really?
Yeah. And he's also a police officer, so watch it.
We call him the Steel.
And we just call you FU Akers.
In my era that I've gotten to watch basketball, I think he's probably one of the best centers that it's ever played. If you could defend this guy, you could get paid right that week. I mean, they did whatever they could do to try to put him in the paint. There's many rules that should have been called on him that, with the back to the rim and the pushback, the little booty pushback. But one of the biggest things is players were actually hitting him so hard when he tried to do layups or dunks that they were actually injuring themselves. And they also called it a rule called the Hack-a-Shack rule.
Yeah.
It's a policy, not a rule.
Where a player can intentionally foul another player on the court under the 2-minute mark in the fourth quarter, where the player does not have to have the ball, and he can foul any player. And this is why Shaq was sent to the free throw a lot. So when Shaq was on the court, they would run to him, and they would actually intentionally hit him on purpose. Now, it cracks me up on some of them. Like they would not, instead of just go grab him, they would just literally just start hitting them. And one of the playoffs ones with him and Kobe and Fisher, when Shaq goes to dunk, when Kobe threw him the ball, Shaq goes to dunk, and they rip his jersey. That was awesome. Everybody used to yell, that was a Hack-a-Shack.
If Shaquille O'Neal would have hit half of his free throws, shot just 50%, he would be the all-time leading NBA scorer.
Oh, hell yeah.
What if I told you what if I told you he was above 50%?
Over his career on free throws per season, at one point in time, he shot less than 20%. It was like 19%. Him and Ben Wallace had the worst free throw percentage in the NBA at the time of the playoffs, shooting like 19%.
Here's my thing. If you know you're going to get fouled, wouldn't you work on that shit on the offseason to make sure you can get a couple extra points? Come on.
He said in one of the interviews I watched that he practiced all the time. It is something about doing it in front of he had stage fright when it came down to free throws.
Because all eyes are on him or something.
He actually had his own court inside his house, and he practiced. He said on TV.
One of his problems was he said because his hand's so big that he shoots, that his fingers really just shove it forward. He can't. He tries getting the arc. And
he said he said on the off season he averaged shooting over 100 free throws, and he said he made quite, shot in the 70s and 60% range at home. But when it came to stepping on the basketball court in front of an audience, he according to him, he froze. And he could just never do it. I don't think he's missing that shit on purpose.
Porn stars don't get stage fright. Why should he?
There you go, Suds, just for you.
Shaq didn't. There's no Viagra for free throws.
In 2002, the 2003 with the Lakers, he shot 622%.
We're talking about his career, though, Mikey.
Yeah.
His career is 52 or 527.
Really?
So
I bet you can find a season though where it's like 19%.
03-04, he shot 49%. He went from 62 to 49, and then he went 49, 46, 46, 42, and then back into 500s again. So I mean, like,
if he went for his career and shot 50%, he'd be the all-time leading scorer. If he did it for his entire career.
The worst percentage he's got is 3-point, and that's a .04.
4%.
4%.
That's a low number.
That's a point.
I remember watching. I remember watching a game with Ben Wallace and Shaquille O'Neal in the same game, and I'm like, holy hell, they couldn't hit the free throw to save their lives. If you put a gun to their heads and say, hey, you just have to make 3 out of 10, they weren't going to do it.
Wait a minute, Suds. I think Ben Wallace and Shaquille O'Neal were on the Cavs at one point at the same time.
Could you imagine that practice?
They weren't both playing.
Wait. They were on the same team, but they weren't quite on the floor at the same time.
Exactly. It don't matter.
No, one was.
Could you imagine? Listen, in practice, at basketball practice,
the other one was on the floor.
Jesus.
Listen, at basketball practice, there's a game that is played sometimes. It's you get one of your worst shooters, and everybody runs until the shooter hits 5 free throws in a row, and you keep running until he hits 5 free throws in a row. Could you imagine that game being played between those two?
This sounds like something you used to do in practice, Suds.
I actually was a good free throw shooter.
Okay. Thought I asked.
This is a crack me up at basketball. Talking about 3-pointers.
What's up?
Thanks for coming to Cleveland.
All right, Zolt and Akers. Akers actually snuck up and pulled Avery, so I'll let him run with the Avery one. And I'll because I'm definitely going to let you have your guy.
Oh, the other one?
I
that's a good one.
I did my homework. I found it. I said, oh, yeah, we got it. We've got to do that one. So
yeah.
What are we doing?
I'll let.
This has got to be hockey.
This is NHL.
Oh, yeah. All I know is Zolt, you're going to like mine. I'm telling you right now, you're going to like mine.
Ryan.
No, I had it.
Zolt, I think Zolt, I think has it's this is actually nobody could go wrong here. Nobody. Let me cue up the Avery here.
You gotta watch the guy in front of him.
Yager has time. He shoots one wide of Brodeur. Avery will settle it down. He takes a hit. Gomez on the outskirts. After the point man, it's Yager. Scotty Gomez in the ring. Yager again, walking. Shooting one wide of Brodeur. Played this way by Gomez. Scott Gomez turns. Thinks about it. One-timer. Oh, it's blocked in front. Shanahan let it fly. Yager again holding on to it. Gomez with a shot taken wide of Brodeur, goes out of the reach of Brendan Shanahan, all the way down to Lundqvist.
Sean Avery's tactics at screening the goaltender like nothing I've ever seen before. Amazing.
Just walking that line?
He was facing Brodeur the whole. He didn't even watch the play at all.
Wow.
And Brodeur did his level best to keep his concentration and his cool.
Gomez is flying. He sets up Yager. Yager for Gomez, holding on to it out in front. They score! The guy you talked about, Sean Avery. Power play goal.
Call it tactics, call it antics, call it effective in the end. This is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this. And then the worst kind of payback, the next foray into the offensive zone. Avery gets down to business and makes them pay with the goal. Oh my.
That's such a dick move.
Yes, it is.
That's called straight up douchebaggery.
He should have took that stick right up into the between those legs.
That's funny you say that because actually Detroit was one of them. A lot of the times where the players would actually keep sliding in front of the goalie would actually look around for the ref, and then they would take their stick and they jam it up in between their leg. And when they move, they used to hit their skate to knock them off balance. So that way they couldn't play that. They couldn't do that. Sean, he actually faced the goalie. This is what makes it majorly illegal. You can distract the goalie with your back by going side to side, but not turn around and do it. It's what makes it illegal. Preventing a player to stand in front of the goalie to distract the goalie while play is being on is illegal to do that. And they called it the Sean Avery rule.
That's a
douchebag. That right there.
That's douchebag rule.
How douchebag rule that is right there. I mean, there should be no read for that. Not whatsoever.
I was going to say that they wanted to call it unsportsmanlike conduct, but it didn't quite fall in. So they specifically added the words into the rule, facing the goalie and waving your stick around his head.
How more blatant do we have to make rules around?
It'd be great if he was like going around like,
oh yeah, and yeah, you're talking, Detroit getting hacked in front of the net. Yeah, Tomas Holmstrom constantly. The amount of groin shots he took from opposing goalies, but at least he had his back to the goalie. So. And, he had a job. He was doing his job. Okay. He was just there. That was
in hockey. There's a reason why they fight.
Yes, there is.
Well, that's like George.
There's a reason they're cheap shots.
If you watch where the camera came in the back, the goalie punched him in the face with the glove.
Yep.
So there's not much actual full punch there with the goalie glove.
I'd have stuck that stick in his face
with that net.
I would have lifted my stick up and caught him right in the mouth.
I mean, Chelios was bad with that too.
He should have hit that dude in the mouth with a stick. That'd have gotten his ass away from him.
Big time.
Knock a tooth out. Your ass won't stand there for long.
One that surprised me here was Doug with, this was quite impressive. Doug, I had to go deep into this one. But
that's what she said.
I did.
Not to him.
First one of the night. Thank you very much. I'll be here all week.
With thanks to KSTP Channel 5, we have to give credit to for this little video.
Has one of the most extensive news film archives anywhere in the country. As we continue to index and catalog this collection, it's making it easier for us to dig deep and find compelling pictures from our past to help us tell stories about people like Bill Masterton, perhaps the most famous hockey player you've never heard of. Bill Masterton was Canadian, but his story is an American tragedy.
Just a superb gentleman, great family man, very good hockey player.
Born in Manitoba, his heart ended up in Minnesota.
Nobody expects a 29-year-old athlete, to be just all of a sudden gone.
After he thought his dream of playing in the NHL was over, he took a job with Honeywell and settled in the Twin Cities with his wife and 2 young children.
Perseverance and
sportsmanship and dedication to the game. That was Bill.
Those are among the reasons Bill Masterton was lured away from Honeywell at age 29 to become the first player ever signed by the Minnesota North Stars.
He was a classy, talented hockey player.
But 3 months later, Masterton would be at the center of the darkest day in NHL history.
They hit him so hard, some of the players even thought he was out before he hit the ice.
Masterton was drafted by the Montreal Canadiens out of college, but with just 6 NHL teams, he couldn't crack a lineup until the league expanded and the North Stars called.
And my mother always told me he just couldn't turn it down. You know, she said, Carol, it's really my last shot at playing pro hockey, and I may only have a couple of years, but I just have to do it.
Masterton knew it was a gamble. The gamble started to pay off, though, when he scored the first goal in North Stars history in the team's first game. But then, the fateful day, January 13th, 1968.
He passed the puck, and right as he let go of the puck, he got hit. Good, clean hit by 2 players at the same time. And then he went down and hit his head.
Scott Masterton was 3 years old when his dad died from injuries suffered in this game.
Isn't that something?
He'd never seen any film of his dad, number 19, playing for the North Stars until now.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
What goes through your mind when you see something like 50 years later?
Well, it fleshes some things out a little bit, you know, makes them feel a little bit more real, you know.
For the first time in 50 years, we've uncovered in our KSTP archives a portion of the final game of Masterton's life.
Yeah, that's Billy right behind the net. That's amazing.
Former North Star Lou Nanne was a teammate of Masterton's on the U.S. national team.
It's probably, you know, within a shift or two of when he got the fatal hit.
There is no recording of the fatal hit in the Oakland Seals game at Met Center in Bloomington, but now we can see some of Bill Masterton's final moments before being fatally injured.
The fact that it exists is just remarkable. The fact that you found it.
We were season ticket holders, and I don't think we missed a game.
John Rendell was a close friend and former U.S. national teammate of Masterton's. He had just entered Met Center with his wife late in the first period.
We noticed on the ice there's activity, and we didn't realize it was Bill, but it was Bill being treated on the ice.
Rendell immediately went to talk to Masterton's wife.
She didn't think that it was life-threatening at that point, and but it was serious.
You can't see anything else that comes even close to it. I mean, that was so devastating.
It wasn't too long after talking to the doctors that it was life-threatening.
Rendell was at the hospital when Bill Masterton died 30 hours after his injuries. Like nearly all NHL players, Masterton didn't wear a helmet. At Met Center a week later, there were still few players wearing helmets, but it quickly spurred debate.
Well, Coach, of course, the whole league and, in fact, the whole sports world has been saddened by Bill Masterton's death. What's been the reaction of your players to possibly wearing headgear?
I think that some of our players now are considering wearing it.
It would be another 11 years before the NHL mandated helmets. Scott Masterton says his dad's death paved the way.
I think that was kind of probably a hallmark moment in the NHL, maybe in sports in general.
However, it didn't keep Bill Masterton's son from playing hockey.
My mother never blinked when I said I wanted to play hockey. She was very much in the idea, this is a freak accident, and this is, you know, physical things are part of any sport.
Tom Hauser reporting.
CBI News, your time.
So, 11 years.
Was it took that long after that?
Think about that. 11 stinking years.
It wasn't mandatory for them all to wear helmets either.
No,
it was the
people,
players were,
grandfathering.
players are grandfathered in, but they still didn't have to wear helmets up until I believe they were still playing into the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, I was gonna say because the guy I was gonna do actually a duo with the hockey, but I said no, I'm not gonna do it. Was Craig McTavish. He was the last one to not wear a helmet, and the funny part is he started his career wearing a helmet, and then he said, "No, I'm not going to wear one anymore." And then, but he was the last one. It was weird because you always see like these white or black or blue helmets, and then all of a sudden you see Craig McTavish skating down the rink with his floppy hair all over the place, you know. So yeah, he was the last one that said, "Nope, I ain't wearing one." But he was grandfathered in because he started way before the rule. I think I can't even think. Zolt, you would know better, you know. Or Doug, you know, you would know better what year that was mandated. But he was the last one.
78.
78. Yeah, because I think he started like 74, 75, somewhere around there. That's a good one though, Doug.
Thanks.
Yeah, the other one that
you can't change the game more than player safety.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other one that Doug brought up that I was also going was this next one, which is just a screenshot, and this is the Boston Bruins coach Art Ross becomes the first NHL coach to pull the goalie for an extra attacker on the ice.
Look at those skates.
Yeah, those babies look horrendous. Those look
face got a hurt nose.
Oh, I couldn't even imagine. I mean, look how low cut those things are on top of it. You know you're breaking some ankles right there.
Are they even wearing shoulder pads? Or are they just doing practice?
No.
It looks like practice.
Yeah.
No,
they used to have these super thin shoulder pads that were basically just a disc of plastic that went around your shoulder and cloth between them. They might be wearing those, but those things do next to nothing.
Yeah, it's funny because you see they're wearing nothing up above, but then like below the waist they're wearing like extra pads and this and that.
Because
those sticks hurt, damn it.
Yeah, the sticks hurt. Yeah,
Hit with those in the legs a couple hundred times in a game.
Yeah, exactly.
I like those pleated pants though; those are nice.
They look like the Pittsburgh Steelers pants.
God damn.
Hey, all I know is Ben Roethlisberger came out this week, said he was addicted to porn and alcohol 3 years ago. Hey, welcome to the club, Ben. Nice to join us.
Well, speaking of which, I found Miss Hotness.
To some, it was a miracle on ice. A 20-year-old woman playing goal in what had always been a man's game. Somehow, Manon Rhéaume didn't look out of place.
When you have
all three of mine made it. Yes.
You go higher and you want to try what you can do during a big game.
In Montreal, Rhéaume's home, her hockey heroes had seen it, including all-star goalie Patrick Roy. She wore his famous number 33 on her back.
If Manon become an NHL, I don't think it's going to be because she's a woman, because she got the talent to play there, and I don't see nothing against that. If she's having the talent to play in NHL, it's fine with me.
Some observers called it a sideshow. After only 17 minutes experience in the junior leagues, they said she didn't deserve the chance. It was a publicity stunt, they said, orchestrated by Tampa's general manager, Phil Esposito.
In some cases, they say maybe Esposito is using it for PR. PR or what? She's still stopping pucks. I guess she didn't do that bad of a job.
Rhéaume played for save percentage. Shots was scored on twice. Then she was offered a minor league contract by the Lightning, another first for a woman. Philippe Quentin writes hockey for the newspaper La Presse. He says Rhéaume's short stay in the NHL had a purpose.
Well, hockey has always lived with this very macho image, and the fact that Manon is breaking into hockey, maybe it will help to eliminate those boundaries and make the sports available for guys and girls.
She wasn't perfect, but Manon Rhéaume wasn't bad. In the end, Patrick Roy, her hero, said it best.
I think they're going to go with the best man and the best goalie, I should say, and that's what they're going to do.
And so they will, but not before the Tampa Bay Lightning gave Manon Rhéaume a chance to make a little history. Scott Russell, CBC Sports, Montreal.
She win that game?
So they only played her one period.
Oh.
She let in two.
So Bill Veeck was the GM for that team, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was. Ryan.
That's the time I'm waiting to let these, like he said earlier, if she's able to play in the sport, then let her play in the sport.
I agree.
Yeah, I feel the same way about women in any sport. If you think you could match up against the guys, go for it. You think you could hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball thrown by a guy, go for it. You think you could throw that 90-mile-an-hour, go for it. Field goal kicks, quarterback, I don't care.
The girl goalie obviously is padded up. So, and no one fights a goalie. I mean, it does happen. He's like,
those are the most exciting fights is goalie versus goalie. I can tell you that right now.
Well, they come down to fighting, so I mean, who knows?
But I mean, you're going to call that a publicity stunt. So what you're saying is the Ravens are doing a publicity stunt with the female kicker.
That's pretty much what they're saying, yeah. But again, it goes back to the argument. If she can hit those shots, go for it.
When are we going to pass this leg that all of the sports, it does not say male only sport.
It does say female only sports though.
Because females had to find an outlet because it's such a manly.
I'm about to go political, so I'm gonna stop.
I mean, they put it like you're not wrong. You're right, but they labeled theirs as women NBA or women volleyball or anything like that.
Women hockey.
But we have hockey. I mean, if a woman wanted to play in hockey, then let them play in hockey. I mean, quit.
Yeah. What sport does a transgender play in?
Not as strong as us.
Again, it doesn't matter.
One of us wanted to go up against Ronda Rousey.
It doesn't matter. A transgender playing in the WNBA.
Why would it?
LeBron James wants to be a woman.
Okay.
So Caitlyn Jenner's going to play in the WNBA.
You got daughters? you got daughters and you got sons. You know there's a physical difference.
Where do they go when they go to jail?
They usually segregate between men. They
all right. This is a topic. This is
my
not
bad
a topic for this. Moving right along, Mr. Burrich, if you please.
Well, since you put his name up there for me, I'm going with Patrick Waugh. No, I'm going with Jacques. Now, Zolt, please correct me if I'm wrong. Jacques Plot, I'm presuming.
Jacques Plot.
This guy, Hall of Fame goalie. He played his playing career from 1952 to 1975. Ranked 7th all time in wins. With 400 and what is it? 400 and I think it was 428 wins. 2.38 goals against. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about he was one of the first goalies to regularly play the puck outside the crease. And then he was often instructing his teammates from behind the play. Won 6 Stanley Cups. He had 71 playoff wins, 14 playoff shutouts. But that's not what we're talking about here, folks, sports fans. In November 1st, 1959, a shot broke his nose 3 minutes into the game against the New York Rangers. And for a couple of years, he was, as George put it up there, he was practicing with a goalie mask like that. But he never wore it in the game. So after
Myers mask.
Yeah, pretty much. And so he, after 3 minutes into that game, he gets a shot right to his nose against the Rangers. Goes to the back, the dressing room, gets stitches, and comes out with the mask. Well, his coach did not want him to go out there with a mask. So he told his coach, "Listen, I'm not going out there without the mask." So the coach, but gradually said, "Okay, fine." He returned with the mask. And he played. And so every time he wore the mask, they won. And the coach got didn't get mad. He was mad at first, but then he got less and less mad because they went 18 games in a row with him winning with the mask on. But after he played one game without the mask, they lost, so he put the mask back on. But the point is, he was the first goalie. I shouldn't say the first goalie ever to wear the mask because there was someone back in I think the 30s, early 30s that wore the mask. But he was the first goalie to regularly wear a mask, goalie mask, in a season. And so he, to me, is innovative because of him being the first goalie to regularly wear a mask in the game.
Yeah, he normalized it.
Yeah.
Is what he did.
Yeah.
But he was the Jason mask.
And he had a couple prototypes at home and everything, and it's just weird that also he brought it on the road with him for that game. I don't know why he did. I don't know if he always kept it with him. It was weird. All of a sudden he comes out and there he is with the mask.
It's probably one of those things where he knew he was going to do that one day, and it was just today's the day.
Yeah,
and he just had to catch hell from the coach for it. And
and the funny part is the coach didn't want him, and then they, like I said, they went on an 18-game winning streak with it on, and the coach was like, fucking go ahead, wear it.
Hard to argue with that.
he also is the one who has actually, even up to this point, also been the designer and the progression innovator of the hockey helmet itself all the way up to current day. So that
I don't know if he's alive still or not, but yeah, he's. Hey man, when you're doing something like that especially back in the day, in the 60s where no one wore anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's big time influential right there to me.
And to answer your question, Akers, that looks more like Mike Myers and not Jason from Friday the 13th because it's more white.
No, I was saying who wore
Friday the 13th has got the holes in the check mark and the crack in the helmet.
If I read correctly, I think the first goalie to wear a mask was in like 1931, but it was like a big thick leather mask. So it wasn't like whatever. I couldn't even tell you what that was back in the 60s.
Fiberglass.
I was gonna say fiberglass or something like that, but I didn't even know if they had that back then. So did they have fiberglass back then in the
Well, the picture that George pulled up, the caption was original fiberglass.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So yeah, I mean, so it's like I said, he was the first goalie to regularly wear a mask for every game.
Can you even imagine facing a slap shot now without a mask?
Oh hell.
Oh my God.
Look at this.
Yeah.
So what you're saying
that is why the
killers are coming from hockey.
There is there he is right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's what caused it.
Yep.
That's basketball right there, sis.
And then, and the funny part is if you see guys in basketball when they have broken noses, they have those face shields on and they hate them because it fogs up all the time. Imagine one of those in a hockey game. What's that?
Didn't Bill Lambier, I think, play with?
Yeah, he wore. So did Isaiah Thomas. Rip Hamilton.
Yeah, Rip Hamilton.
I was gonna say Rip Hamilton is the one that always wore it because he broke his nose like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So every game he would wear one. But yeah, I mean, back in the day when
Bill Lambier did it before he did. Yeah.
When you had no technology whatsoever, I shouldn't say whatsoever, but you didn't have the technology that you have now. That is just. And then to play well with it, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Not to ever play with one, and all of a sudden, boom, you're out there playing with it, and you're just shutting people down left and right. That's the other amazing point about it.
But like you said, go ahead. I was just gonna say, like you said, he did it the right way. He practiced with it for a while first.
It was like 3
knew
years.
What he could, knew what he could do with it, and then just said, "Screw it, I'm doing it."
Yeah. Yep.
My observation was it looks like he widened the eye hole so he has real good peripheral vision too.
Right. And then if you look at the mask now, the eye, they have the cage in front, but still the eye part is
still
really wide. I mean, just small enough so a puck can't go through there, but still wide enough where you can see everything.
Suds, you went with a homer pick.
I went with a homer pick? Oh, because I'm Canadian. That's right. My bad.
Really? Come on. Your dude's up.
Toe blank?
Eh?
That's who I got. I don't know how that's a homer pick. I'm not understanding why.
Oh, really? Where's he from?
Shut up, George.
Where's he from, Suds?
Sudbury, Canada, baby. The Sudbury Wolves. I have their jersey. I wasn't going to bring that up, but thanks.
You're welcome. Because as soon as I keep reading a little bit about it, I'm going, wow. I know exactly.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Go ahead.
My family's actually from that area, so they took that name. I'm somehow directly related to somebody in the Sudburys, in the Sudbury, Canada. But Joe Blake played for the Montreal Canadiens. He became their head coach in 1955. He inherited a dominant team who went on to win many, as we've already talked about, many championships in the first place. But Toe, who names their kid Toe, came up with an innovative power play, which caused the NHL, or whatever they were called at that particular time, to change the rules. Back in the day, it used to be that in a power play, the power play was 2 minutes. It was 2 minutes. It didn't matter how many goals you scored. It continued. But the Canadians had, let's just say, a knack for scoring goals. Out of 70 power plays, they scored 50 goals. At one point in time, one of the players, let me get this dude's name right. Let me see here. Where is his name? Bell something.
Bellevue.
Bellevue. He actually had
Guy Flower.
He actually scored a hat trick during the 2-minute power play.
Wow.
Causing the NHL or whatever to change the rules that said that once a goal is scored, the power play is over. It didn't stop
the team that's missing the player.
Yep. It didn't stop the Montreal Canadiens from destroying every single team that they ever faced, but it changed the game in general.
Wow.
That's it.
525. Gee.
Yeah.
That's called not playing fair.
Right.
That's low down dirty pool. That's like
right up your alley, low down dirty.
That's
I love when someone.
That's like the NBA taking every single good player and putting it on one team and then playing in the Olympics.
The dream team.
Yeah.
I love when someone drops a dirty pool out there.
Dirty pool, old man. Dirty pool.
They created a actual dream team in hockey and basically destroyed everybody. But hey, it is what it is. Go Wolves.
All right, Zolt.
Damn.
Okay.
Called me on that shit. I didn't know you were gonna pull that up.
Oh,
good. Oh, good. You've got the top down. That's what I want to see.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, hang on. Let me intro this. Okay. 2014-15. This is an AHL game, American Hockey League. So
there's no one in the stands.
Yeah. So if you want to draw a comparison, the AHL is to the NHL like AAA is to Major League Baseball. Okay. So just to set up real quick, we've got for the Bridgeport Sound Tigers against the Springfield Falcons. For the Tigers, you've got goaltender David Leggio, I believe I'm pronouncing it right.
Yep.
Facing a 2-on-0 breakaway, and he decides he's going to improve his chances. So go ahead and hit it.
Bridgeport's lead in this game. He's got both of their goals up 2-1. Drops it back, Quine. Knifing through center ice, poked away, 2-0 back the other way. Tyrell over to Sedlak, miscleared it, and then David Leggio dumps the net off its moorings. They may call a penalty. They can call it a delay game penalty on Leggio for that. And he totally upended the net off its moorings to prevent the 2-0, and they will congregate. That should be a delay of game penalty.
Fine, well, I'll take the penalty. I'll take the penalty.
And what was the tough break?
Yeah, technically, if the puck would have went through there,
then a penalty shot with an opportunity to tie the score. So Leggio, a veteran netminder, pulls a little bit of a trick and now has to face a breakaway. On the penalty shot, Tyrell dangles, shoots, save made by Leggio. No goal as Leggio denies Dana Tyrell.
So, brilliant move.
Wow.
Total bullshit. Brilliant move.
That ain't bullshit. That's brilliant.
That's
a Sudbury
nice
move.
I was,
and that's exactly what I
left. Suggs, you totally left. You missed it.
I talked
green screen.
I talked to George before.
I didn't touch anything
when I brought this up, and I said I'm damn near positive this is the perfect application of the Sudbury rule.
Yes.
Flat out.
Not today, son.
And Suggs totally missed it. He left his seat to go grab his jersey. Apparently, Suggs didn't even see it.
A goaltender facing a 2-on-0 breakaway. At the time, the rule was if you purposefully dislodge the net on a breakaway with no defender between the forward and the goalie, then it's an automatic penalty shot. Well, that makes it a 1-on-0 breakaway instead of a 2-on-0. So he just turned around and just shoved the net off. And it was brilliant. I mean, and Sabut, he makes the save on the penalty shot.
Here's the thing. Who else would know that rule?
The goalie.
He apparently knew
I mean, he knew it. I know he knew it, and the refs knew it. But still, who else would say, "Oh shit, let me see, 7.13 in the rule book says if I do, okay, I'm going to do that." Who the hell does that?
He obviously had this planned. He definitely knew to do this.
He was going to do it at some point during the season, and he saw the perfect opportunity to take a shot.
That is great. That's brilliant.
Right,
that's a smart player.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the AHL isn't going to let that just fly. So they amended the rule so that if the goaltender knocks the net off on purpose during a breakaway, not only is it a penalty shot, it's a penalty shot by anybody that was on the ice at the time instead of specifically the guy carrying the puck, and the goalie gets a game misconduct, so he's gone.
So you better have your backup ready to go.
You better.
It's right here. It's right here.
Now, to cap this off, 2017, Mr. Leggio is still playing hockey. He's just not in the AHL anymore. He happens to be over in the DEL, which is a German league. Does the exact same move because they don't have the rule.
That's awesome.
That's a
way to play
right there.
Way to play by the rules, sir.
Yep.
Way to play by the rules.
Hey, he technically broke a rule, but he played by the rules.
He did. He took a penalty, but he did it to put the odds more in his favor.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that was crazy when I saw that.
Bravo, Salt. You got
Thank
that
you.
You know, every league or every team or every league has some rule that at some point in time somebody takes advantage of, and everybody goes, "Ah, shit!"
Right.
It's like baseball. A guy on first base, and there's a little pop up to the second baseman. He goes, "I'm going to catch it." No, I'm just going to let it drop and gets the double play. Boom. It's the same damn thing. Yeah. Same damn thing.
Running out of
we're
the back
one less there.
Running out of the back of the end zone.
The Akers went.
Our viewership just went up.
He booted. There it went.
Internet.
Yeah, he just said it. Here he goes again. It's it's that hard.
I would check his wife's fingerprints or on that server. Go find out where your server where it's at and see if it's been touched recently.
And it's only 9:20.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have pissed her off.
Yeah.
Yes. Screwed yourself.
And on that, I'll be right
he
back,
didn't catch
guys.
any catfish for the last 3 days. That's why.
There it is. George, if I could do one honorable mention, just one.
Absolutely.
Okay. No video, no nothing. This is not a player. This is not a coach. This is a franchise that had a rule in the NHL basically made for them. The Edmonton Oilers lottery rule. So in 2010, the Oilers finished dead last. Take Tyler Hall with the first overall pick. 2011, they finished dead last. Win the NHL draft lottery. Take Ryan Nugent-Hopkins first overall. 2012, finished second to last. Managed to win the NHL lottery for the first overall pick. take Nail Yakupov.
I'm impressed when you said the name.
2015, finish third to last, win the lottery, pick first overall, and take Connor McDavid. 2016, the NHL changes the draft format, or at least how the picks are weighted going into the lottery, so that your bottom feeders actually they still have the greatest chance of winning the pick, but it's a lot less than it was before because the ineptitude of that franchise, whether purposeful or not.
I've never actually seen the NHL draft. By any chance, do they do it like the NBA where nobody actually sees the actual balls being pulled?
Oh, you're talking the lottery?
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever seen it.
I've never seen it.
Well, no. See, the NBA, they do have everybody. They don't have the public see it. They have all the GMs or the representatives there see the balls get picked or the envelopes, whatever they do. They have it backstage where there's witnesses to see who it all is.
But those witnesses are the owners or the GMs.
No, but I think it's the
not.
the representatives that are there representing the
teams and the owners. My point is that
no. Wait. The Cavs didn't. The Cavs owner, his son Nick was 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row. George, he was the one picking there to represent him all the time.
And the kid was the only person in the room, and they are not allowed to discuss with anybody. They go from that room onto the stage, and they are not allowed to discuss anything with anybody else of the organizations. So as the only people who know the results are the people sitting in those seats on stage. Nobody else in the crowd even knows what the end results are.
I don't think they know the results. They just know.
No, they know the results because they're in the room as they're being picked.
I thought they just saw the envelopes. They don't know what's in the envelopes.
No, they our local 4-letter radio guys here, Rizzo, said he went over the whole routine and they explained exactly how it went. And Nick would be the only person who was in the room as they were drawn through the balls and as they took, the next team out and everything. And he was the only, they know exactly who is getting picked, which is why usually you won't see anybody trying to smile or anything too hard as they're up on the stage because they already know the outcome of who's getting what. And they are to try to compose themselves until the end results as the cards are coming out of the envelopes. Gotcha. I thought that was a very interesting.
See, I always thought they just saw the ball, the envelopes being picked. I didn't think they saw who was getting, the first pick overall. I didn't think they knew what teams were getting the picks overall.
Here's my question, and this just makes a little bit more sense to me. To give everybody a heads up, you stick all the damn balls in. They do the lottery on TV. How hard is it to write the word piston on a ball, Warriors on a ball, and whatever, and you use the damn lottery machines and bring the balls up in front of everybody so everybody knows exactly what's going on and they can see the results versus, well, we're going to do this backstage.
Well,
we're only going to have
once somebody's been picked, they have to go back through the rest of that barrel, pull out each of that team's ping pong balls. They have to go through it, sort it all out, and pull all those balls out. Then the next team, the same trick. Once that next team gets picked, they have to go in, pull all those extra ping pong balls of that team out.
Okay, so let me give you an example of
because
how this
because the Pistons can't sit there and have the ninth pick pulled, leave the ping pong balls in there, and also have the fourth pick.
Then you go like this. Way. You take the ball like that, and you go.
No.
And then you let the next ball come up.
But the thing is
so there's a different
multiple balls in it.
Yes, I know.
Because of the percentage.
You can still go like that. And after the team is picked, if the ball comes up again with the name, you just throw the ball out. And then the next ball comes up.
That's why Rizzo said it takes 5.5 hours to do the basketball.
Yeah, we all know that the last 5 picks are already drawn out. They already know who the first pick's going to be.
No, they don't. Rizzo even said it takes 5 hours for them to go through the whole process with the ping pong balls.
And we're talking about basketball when I jumped in, right?
The NBA draft.
Yeah. So you're going to tell me in 2004, with 5 picks left, or I'm sorry, 2003, with 5 balls left, no one was allowed to see them. But ironically, Cleveland came up with the number 1 pick. And then in 2009, right? No.
They had the highest.
When did LeBron leave? When did LeBron leave?
Yeah, when they ended up
When he
running
left,
like 4 number 1 picks.
Who ironically got the number 1 pick again? The Cleveland Cavaliers. When Kobe retired, because the Lakers were down nothing. When Kobe retired, who got the number 1 pick that year? The Lakers. It's set up. It's straight up set up. Because whenever anybody's having a bad year, all of a sudden they want that team to do good. That's why I said you need to go by whoever is last place gets the first pick. They need to go by like the NFL does. If you're last, you get the first pick. Because if you're the number 16, or if you didn't make the playoffs, you know your team's not going to make the playoffs, and you start tanking it, pulling your players off, I mean, it's just going to hurt you. And then you end up getting a pick. I mean, New Orleans gets Zion. They weren't even a horrible team that year.
And they end up replacing Anthony Davis.
They end up getting Zion.
But let's be real, tanking in the NBA, tanking in the NHL is different from tanking in the NFL, because one player can affect your team a hell of a lot more in those 2 leagues than it does in the NFL.
Yes.
I mean, you
can. So going back to the conversation, when we talk about, because I asked why I asked, we're doing, are we talking about the draft in the NHL also?
Yeah, we just got off the subject. Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, Holly flipped off.
Basketball. You guys said basketball, so that's why I was like jumping on basketball. I was like,
no, we know Holly flipped your power off.
Yeah, the sad part was I was laughing because I heard Suds. I turned the volume up, and Suds goes, "You better check that router." But I had to jump back on the thing to get the password and the phone number to log in because I had to wait for the computer to reboot. Hour and 20 minutes, and it kicks me off. I'm like, "What are you kidding me?"
All right, well, we're gonna.
It seems to be a little ironic that it keeps on happening at a certain time.
She's not even here, but it's funny because I got kicked off when she walked in the door.
As Alanis Morissette would say, it's a little bit ironic, don't you think?
I was going to go with D&D saying that sucks to be you.
But I'm all right.
Doug ain't even moving.
We're going to take our...
Doug just got kicked off too.
Doug's frozen.
Oh, no.
Pussycats are ripping.
He's still there, so it's his video that's just a little interesting.
Come on, I already took a pee. Let's go. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
No, this is needed.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Jump into our break here, guys.
You couldn't do the goals while I'm trying to log in.
Oh, sorry.
F you, Akers.
Some of us were talking.
Yeah. We were actually putting good points in, Mike.
Points to me.
We just didn't go with Shaq.
We'll break right now, guys. I'm going to run the commercials through and the trivia question. So at the end of the commercials, guys, check out the trivia question, and it will be for T-shirt number 2.
Do you at least know the answer to this trivia question, George?
Oh, yes, I know.
Did you actually say the person's name this time?
Are we allowed to answer?
No, you're not allowed to answer.
That's bullshit.
Sorry.
We don't know the trivia question.
I know.
Ah, see,
Ruling Aces, proud to be a part of Redline Radio.
I gotta start and stop.
Detroit Auto Parts is a proud sponsor of this station. Save 10% off your order when you mention Redline Radio. Serving 2 locations in Cleveland. The East Side, 480 East 200th Street. Phone number is 216-531-7373. And the West Side, 4941 Pearl Road. Phone number 216-398-7373. It is the home of the Detroit Auto Parts Studio. Helping Hands Moving Services. Phone numbers 216-682-6955. Ask for Dave or Jen and mention Redline Radio for 10% off your moving needs. Cater Printing for your custom screen print, embroidery, and promotional item needs. Located at 9925 Royalton Road, Unit D, in North Royalton, Ohio. You can reach Amy at 440-668-1579 or check them out online, caterprinting.com. Make sure that you mentioned you heard it on Redline Radio. K&M Towing, 13011 Bel Air Road in Cleveland, Ohio. Phone numbers 216-252-2229. Tell James and Tom you heard about them on Red Line Radio. Looking for that NASCAR diecast? Pit Road Diecast has a large selection available. Call Bill at 216-355-2347. Mention Redline Radio and get $5 off your purchase. Lubrication Supply, located in Norwalk, Ohio. In the field or on the track, let us put you in the winner's circle. Contact Kevin or Jim at 330-813-2305. Tell them you heard it on Redline Radio. Alrighty.
You need to take the red line out of there and say you heard it on Dueling Aces.
No, we can't because it's Redline
That's
Radio.
the station's stuff.
No, it's our station time, not Redline Radio.
No, it's
time.
on Red Lines. Here's our trivia question for this week. Starting this week, I should say. Oh, darn it. Let me get this thing to flip over. Come on, man. Thank you.
Oh, that's tag marked.
Come on. Oh, really? Really? Where'd it go?
5 minutes, damn it.
It did.
Oh, shit. Hold on.
It's like, what the hell? Where?
Tip me over and pour me out.
Really?
See, told you. He had to go tip it over and pour it out.
There it is. There's our trivia question. There is a service that has been conducted for generations. The service is a rotation of two men. If one of the men should die, it's the next man up on the list, and all of those who have served until their deaths. So that is the question, the new trivia question, since Mike correctly guessed Len Wickwar last week for our boxer. This is our new question for the t-shirt. There is a service that has been conducted for generations. The service is a rotation of two men. If one of the men should die, it's the next man up on the list. And all of those who have served until their deaths. This is sports related.
Say, is it the Pope?
This is sports related, not religiously related, sports related.
I'm an atheist.
Oh, that's your personal preference. Anyways, this is a sports question. It is a sports question. So again, one more time, like I said, you guys can screenshot it, whatever. If you want to turn around and try to come up with the answer even into next week. It is a service that has been conducted over generations. The rotation is of only two men. And if one of the men should die, it's the next man up on that list. And all of those who have served in the service for this, they have served until they have passed. It's very,
What is
very.
the president?
It is a sports question. It has to do with sports.
Hi there, Chaz, man. My favorite LBA president of all time.
Colleen said chess. Wow. No, Colleen, it's not chess.
Who's chest?
And we started off the second half right where we left off with practically the first half.
So baseball's coming back. I don't know if you heard that.
Perfect timing, Mr. Birch.
So are we going to do football, then baseball, and then go to baseball, or are we just going to flip it?
Well, I'm going to let Mr. Birch continue on first.
Where do you want me to go, Doug? Or Doug? Where do you want me to go, George?
I don't know. It's his show.
Do you want me to go with current events or past events?
The current events.
All right, sir. So, if you've been living under a rock for the last 24 to 48 hours, baseball is back. And surprisingly to me, they are actually going to have a season, if you want to call it a season. It's a 60-game season. They're going to play 60 games in 66 days. They're going to, yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Uh-huh.
6 days off.
Huh?
Why should they need more? They're getting paid all that money.
I was going to say.
There's 60 games in 66 days. They're going to start playing either July 23rd or July 24th. They're going to move around the teams. So basically, there's a big ass laundry list of things that they implemented for this year. So I'm just going to go through them. If you want to stop me, go ahead, right ahead. If you want to add, I don't care. They're going off the March 26th deal that the MLB and the players agreed upon. That lets the MLB impose a schedule and guarantee players a fully prorated portion of their salaries. They're going to, I'm not calling it spring training. They're going to report to summer training to their home ballparks on July 1st. They're going to have 3 weeks of summer training and then play games. They're going to play 4 divisional opponents 10 times. And then the other 20 games, they're going to go against interleague opponents of the same division. So basically like the Indians. They're in the AL Central. They're going to play 20 games against the NL Central. From what I heard, I think 6 of those are going to be against.
Well, they could also do regions, so they could.
That's the region. That is the region. Basically, like AL West is going to play the NL West. The AL Central is going to play the NL Central, and so forth. From what I saw with the Indians, like they're going to play 6 games against the Reds, and then 3 games here and there. This preliminary, I don't know for sure. Both leagues are going to be using the DH. No pitchers are going to be batting this year. The shocker that one of the shockers that I've seen is extra innings. Top of the 10th. We'll begin with a runner on second base. Who was the last out from the last inning? Which that's going to be a interesting little thing there. Trade deadline will be August 31st instead of July 31st. Rosters will start at 30 players at the beginning of the season. The first 2 weeks will be 30 players. And then after that, we'll go down to 28. And then after that, we'll go down to 26, which was supposed to be implemented this year. They were going to add one more player to the Major League roster of 26. So they are going to just basically dwindle it down. So after 4 weeks, it's going to be 26 guys for the rest of the year. To steal a phrase from my football influential guy, they're going to have a taxi squad of 60 players total. So 30 players are going to make the roster, and then they're going to have another 30 basically practicing on the side. So in case something happens with, someone gets coronavirus, someone gets hurt, this and that, they have an extra 30 players.
They're minor league pool in a sense.
Basically, like probably their whole AAA team, if I'm thinking, or maybe it would be a double A team, guy who's hot, whatever. So they can pull from that 30 players in case someone else goes down. There will be a COVID-19 injured list with no minimum or maximum length. Usually, the standard injured list will be 10 days. Usually they have a 60-day disabled list, but since they're only playing 60 games in 66 days, that ain't going to work. So they're going to do 45-day list. But the COVID-19 injured list is not going to be. There's not going to be any set date or anything. So once that guy, say for some instance, some
Are they
some
testing
player,
yet?
huh?
Are they testing yet?
Yes, they are, because a whole bunch of players, a whole bunch of teams are reporting that some of their players and some of their
the staff.
Thank you, Joel, that are starting to report that. That actually, thanks Suds for the segue. Man, you're good. Players will be tested every other day, even if they're asymptomatic, which is kind of interesting there. Players deemed high risk because of pre-existing conditions will be allowed to opt out of any part of the season and get paid and maintain their service time, which is very surprising there. I think that's one. I think the owners threw in there just so the players say, okay, we'll come back to play. Players without any without such pre-existing, if they have no pre-existing conditions whatsoever, they can opt out, but they will not get paid, and they won't get the service time like the other guys would. Now onto the salary, which was a big ass sticking point for the last goddamn.
I got to call this percentage a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, you did. Players will receive the full pro rata, which is about 37% of their salary. So basically, well, easy example here. So say they're playing 162 games. Say they're getting $100 a game, just for example. So you get $100 a game for 162 games. The players wanted full prorated thing. So say they only played 80 games, they were still getting $100 per game. Owner said, no, we only want to do 80% of it. So they were only get $80. But owners came back, Major League Baseball came back and said, no, we'll give you the full rate. So basically whatever they make per game is what they're going to get.
It's 37% of the season and 37% of their salary. And then when the deal was initially sent over to the players, I looked at it and I said, if it doesn't include anywhere from 37 to 40%, it's going to get rejected automatically. And it's coming out that it's 37%, which is pretty fair.
The players, before the March 26th deal, the Major League Baseball I guess forwarded money to everybody. I guess that's what if you want to say it that way.
Players need to pay rent, man.
Yeah. Players will not receive forgiveness on the $170 million salary advance they received as part of the March agreement. So the players cannot go back on that agreement. The players are not won't be owed no bonus money from the postseason this year, which is kind of shocking. Usually, if you make the playoffs, you get all that bonus money. In
a sense, there might not be any extra money, but they're still getting paid per game, so they're still making that percentage per game for every game they play.
Right. And since they had to go back to the deal on March 26th, there will be no expanded playoff teams for the season. Major League Baseball kept insisting that if they agreed with the players, they wanted to expand it to 16 teams. Sorry, but players said nope, we don't want that, so they're going to keep it at 10 teams. This normal playoffs that they have been the last couple of years. Now here's the interesting point. So back in March, when all this shit started going down, the rosters were froze, so no transactions could happen. Friday at noon, all hell breaks loose, because that's when everything gets unfrozen. So it can lead to trading, it can lead to free agent signings, it can lead to anything any of these teams want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday at noon is going to be interesting, because that's when basically NFL March whatever is when the official league date starts for the year. So basically the official start of the season is Friday at noon, when teams can sign, or they can be trades and things like that.
Can a trade be voided if the player is, when he comes down for his physical, is tested for the coronavirus?
I would
And he has,
imagine it would be a failed physical. So no, it would.
he
be,
didn't fail a
it would be-
physical.
yeah,
He didn't fail a physical. That's a different story.
That part I don't know. That it never was really brought up on if a player gets tested for COVID and during the physical and they fail, it never really got brought up. No one really actually brought that question up, and all the readings and things that I read, it never really got brought up.
I mean, if we really look at it, it would be actually part of the physical because
I mean that's upper respiratory. I mean that's absolutely.
If you go right now for a sports physical, there is no there's no testing for that. So if what is the basis of the physical? Have they added to the coronavirus test to the physical? The physicals, and I guarantee you, in every single sport, there's a list of tests that you have to go through in order to pass a physical. If an NBA team or at Major League or hockey add another test to it, that could be a union violation of the contract, and they may not
But
be able to do it.
COVID-19 was not ever part of any contract.
So it's not in there, so you can test for it.
In there.
It won't be in there. That's
It will
what
not
I'm
be
saying.
in
It
there.
won't
It
be in
tests
there.
for it. If it goes by the physical, by the union contracts, you can't test for it. But you can test for it separately, but you don't necessarily go by the physical. Are they going to be able to do the physical?
What the players
you can still void the trade by if the player tests positive. I'm sure you walk in a facility and you got to get tested right away.
But the players can go back to spring training. So look at, I passed my physical. I was playing spring training, the whole time. So we can go back and say,
well,
I know.
The details we will probably find out more details in the next 48 hours.
Like I said, I did not see anything that said anything about something like that.
And there's nothing new out there right now. I've just been looking real quick.
Yeah, I mean, it depends if it was negotiated in or not. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And I believe
it would have to be.
I believe the document was like 100 pages long.
Yeah.
If I remember right. So, I mean, all we have are just the little screen grabs that.
So the two.
And I'm sorry, but I don't have it in that good with anybody.
Come on.
I'm good, but I'm not that good.
Hey,
so I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Akers, you're off. F you, George.
Oh, nice.
So two last points I want to make on the restart of baseball. One, the feeling is, from what I've been listening to and reading, is the schedule should be, they said, leaked out, but the schedule for the season should be out here in the next day or two. The other thing that's really interesting, and I never really thought about this till a couple days ago, and I saw a headline about it today. Toronto Blue Jays. Basically, the border remains closed right now. And yes, see, that's a very interesting point here, because the border from the U.S. and Canada remains closed for non-essential travel until at least July 21st. So if all these teams need to report to their home stadiums,
how the Blue Jays going to report, and then where are they going to travel?
Exactly. Well, you've been reading my notes, haven't you?
I'm reading your mind. I'm looking at you, reading your mind.
Well, you don't want to read my mind. There's a lot of shit up there.
I know, I'm getting a lot of thoughts, and I'm like, what am I in here for?
So basically, anyone entering Canada for non-essential reasons must quarantine themselves for 14 days. So Toronto, the Major League Baseball, thought about that and said, well, hell, if that's going to happen, then we'll just have the Blue Jays play down in their spring training site, which is in Dunedin, Florida. But all of a sudden,
whoops.
Yeah. All of a sudden, someone got the COVID-19 down there, so they closed all the damn spring training sites down there. So after last night, when the players finally agreed, and Major League Baseball finally agreed with each other, Major League Baseball sent a plan to the government of Canada, just like the NHL did. They sent a plan, and if the government accepts it, then they can send an exception letter, similar to what they did with the NHL. But the thing was, Canada approved the NHL's plan because there was a couple cities that the NHL had to host. They wanted to do the host
They're in the
city.
hub.
So
Correct.
everybody was going to be there at once. They didn't have to travel. So the thing with Major League Baseball was they were going to have to travel city to city. So right now, Toronto Blue Jays are in a limbo because they don't know if Canada, the government of Canada, is going to approve that plan. The thing is, they brought up, playing down in Dunedin, Florida, for their spring training site. But if they want to keep them in the U.S.,
Buffalo.
I was just gonna go there because Buffalo, New York is their AAA team. I said, why don't they just play at their AAA site? Because that's a nice little stadium. It's like a 10. And here's the other thing. Before I go there, no one has said right now. There's no fans allowed. I don't know when that's going to change. It depends.
So it doesn't matter.
But it depends. No, actually, it does because there's some states that said they're allowing pro sports or college sports to have 25 to 50% of their stadium full of fans. So it depends on where they're playing. Like I think Texas is one of them. I think Arizona is another one. Other than that, I really don't know what other states are saying, but there's a couple teams that could have fans in their stands. But yes, I was.
What happened in Michigan? We can't even get a fucking haircut.
I can get a haircut. I still don't want one.
Colleen is really rampant here. She's like, seriously, where did you get that riddle? Colleen, that one was really thought very carefully while researching stories from almost 2 months ago. So
she can't win anyways.
Right.
But no, yeah, Buffalo. I thought of Buffalo right away because I knew
I'm
Toronto
like,
was their
isn't there a
AAA
AAA team somewhere in Buffalo area?
Yeah, and it's because the Indians AAA team used to be there, so I know the stadium really well, and it's a nice, it's only a couple hours away from Toronto, so why can't they just play there? But the thing is, New York is different because Upper New York is open, but New York City is not. So it's totally different where you're at in New York. But so that's basically the latest with Major League Baseball. And so we're hoping July 23rd or 24th is going to be opening day. Like I said, they're going to split 23rd and 24th. Half the teams are going to start on the 23rd. Half the teams are going to start on the 24th. Would I love to see more games than 60? Yes. I always, George, I told you this, from day one. I thought 80 games was the minimum they had to play. I think 60 is just too little.
We got 60.
I still think it's just too little. I think it's just
that's what she said.
Can you see the AL wins leader at 9 for the season?
Oh yeah. But like I heard today, like someone said that like say the Indians go to Toronto or not Toronto. Say the Indians go to Minnesota and lose a 3-game series over there. All 3 games, they're done. They're basically done because they're done in the division because they lost against a division rival and they lost 3 games in a row. And it's like, well, fuck, you're done.
Well, you also have every year or every other year, the low clubs starting off really great and then they'll falter. Well, Are you going to have like a World Series where there's like 2 normally like bottom feeders?
And that's the thing with baseball. If you miss the game like with the playoffs, they have 10 teams. If you miss the playoffs by 1 game, you could have essentially made that playoffs and won the World Series. Unlike the NBA, if you missed the 8th seed by 1 game, you're still going to lose in the playoffs because you're not going to beat the one. You're never going to beat the 1 seed. With baseball, you never know who's going to win. And NFL is the same way. If you get in a wild card, you never know who's going to win. So it's going to be really important. If you miss that playoff spot by 1 game,
can you just see like National League Championships, San Francisco Giants versus Florida Marlins? Really?
It could happen. Because we're only in 6
Here's one of the things I was saying that we should probably be looking at is that no one really thinks about this is like you were saying, you're looking at the games, you're looking at the players wanting to play. The owner's trying to get everything going on, where they're going to play. why are we not talking about the players and their contracts? Because they didn't play this year. Everything was going to get pushed back 1 year. Now that they're playing this year, so we'll just use
in a sense, they screwed themselves.
We'll use Frankie Lindor. That if this is his last year and he plays, he's a free agent the next year. And he's only playing on these 60 games now instead of the 160 trying to trade him away.
The last thing I'm going to say
what
about
effect
this,
is that going to take?
the last thing I'm going to say about this is, with all the bullshit that happened the last 3 months, I am guaranteeing right now, the end of the 2021 season is when the CBA is up in Major League Baseball. 2022 will not start without a strike from the playoffs.
That's going to be a battle. That is such a.
I'm telling you right now, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly fast.
Here's some of the questions that some of the people don't understand. This is, let's talk about that. What this union? Why don't we go to play as like I was telling George before? Let these players do that. These minor league players, they want to play. If these players don't think they can get replaced, they can be. Obviously, we've seen it. Vizquel was replaced by Struble, and then obviously Struble was be taken out by Lindor. You know,
can't do that league wide.
Well,
you can't do that league wide.
You take all these big players that don't want to lose their money and all that contract, but you got people below them that will play and they're paid less with no problem right now to slide up in there and keep playing the sport that you want to see, not because them people want to get paid. They want to play, and you are willing to see whoever is on the field. You don't care that if it's Lindor or Manny Ramirez comes back and plays baseball. Or
I very much.
I don't
want to see Scabs.
But if they're on the strike like what's going on right now,
I don't want to see Scabs at all.
Okay, can I bring up the fact that people are watching marbles?
They'll watch anything.
So tell me, the people are not going to go watch minor league players play baseball if they're up on the Tigers or whatever. We're watching marbles.
Would you?
Hey, they're already watching. The minor league players are already playing as the Tigers last year.
Take out those guys. We call them the scrubs, whatever you want to call them. It don't matter. It fills the sport in to keep us entertained with the sport we want to watch.
Or you can go back watching marbles.
Players taking with whatever they want.
Hey, the Tigers.
Who knows? Those scrubs could get better with playing time.
That's what I'm saying. We never know. With the guy they just drafted, like I said, we only use the Indians. With the Indians, the kid, 19-year-old, they just drafted for a shortstop. So basically, they're looking at is if Lindor leaves, they're having a backup.
What was that message I sent you guys that I got the email from the Cleveland Indians? It said, Indians picked Lindor's successor. They already know they're losing him.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what, like, I'm just going by as we look at these major league players as that we need them for some reason when we really don't. We just need the people to replace them to keep the sport going.
Look at if those guys.
There's always that next guy up.
But if those guys in AAA were that good, why weren't they playing in the major leagues now? They're still playing in the AAA.
Because you have someone of the big status blocking their way in.
But if you look at the reason why you have those big names is to get people in the stands. That's not the case. You don't have to. There's not going to be anybody. Even if there's 20 or 50%, they're not going to be in those stands. So you don't need those big names. You can sit there and not pay those big names, still make the money, and still have a game. Because if you're willing to watch marbles, you're going to be willing to watch minor leagues.
Lindor is a free agent in 2022.
Yeah, Chaz has said that. But back to Sud's point, hasn't the Tigers been playing with minor league players the last couple of years?
Yeah.
Oh, God, if only.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
they're not AAA players either.
It was just a softball I had to hit.
That's okay.
All right, back to you, George. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, back on topic.
Reds too.
Well, never mind.
Since we just did an MLB update, real quick NHL update.
Sure,
because they actually had one yesterday.
Yep.
They narrowed down.
It's not my show, Zolt, but go ahead.
No, actually, no.
Thanks, Verge.
Actually, that is Zolt's baby to keep an eye on. So yes.
So the NHL narrowed down their list of hub cities. They just got rid of some of the scrubs like Columbus.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, I knew you were
No,
going
I
there.
agree with that. Go ahead.
The AAA Ohio team.
There's 6 choices now, 3 in the U.S., 3 in Canada. Las Vegas, Chicago, L.A., Edmonton, Toronto, Vancouver. They do have an agreement with the Canadian government that would allow them to quarantine internally.
Right.
So in their case, there wouldn't be any traveling because nobody's going from city to city. So it's literally just you're there, you're parked,
right.
You're not seeing anybody from the other side until the Cup finals.
Yeah, just like NBA is trying to kick off too.
Kind of like what, like I said with the Major League, that they don't know, the Canada doesn't know if they're going to approve
fans, what's the point?
But you still have you have personnel going with them. I'm assuming the family is going to probably be able to go.
Hey,
with
Acres,
them.
where's mine?
But no, that's why Canada is like is kind of not flip flopping, but considering the Major League proposal, because with NHL they're saying nope, everybody's going to stay here after the 14 days, so you don't have to worry about the shit.
Yeah, in essence, they are quarantining themselves. They're just doing it at the facility, at the hotel. They're not going anywhere else, and that's the agreement.
How many games?
I'd have
24.
to go back. Yeah,
so they're going right to the playoffs, aren't
They're
they?
going right to the 24.
Yeah. See, well then that's not bad. 24. I mean, like really think about a month and a half quarantine.
But
you know, if you did
they were estimating
2 months.
Half.
Hey, listen, hookers deliver.
They were estimating a month and a half to get through the round robin entry and first and second round of playoffs.
Yeah,
so you're probably looking at not
they said
quite
it was,
3 months.
So they do what? Best of 5?
Well,
they hadn't actually narrowed that down yet. They said best of 7 for the last 2 rounds, but they hadn't officially announced the first 2 rounds because they were waiting on. They still don't have a start date. So until they know when they're actually going to start, there's no point in actually trying to figure out a full schedule.
I don't think it matters when they start. Just do 5 the first 2 rounds, so you just get it over with, and then just go. So you're not prolonging this, the playoffs so long.
It'd be interesting to have your first 2 rounds be your conditioning round.
Well, hell, remember Florida Panthers used to have the air conditioner for the Stanley Cup Finals. Even Tampa Bay too.
Tampa Bay, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tampa Bay, the same thing. Arizona, yeah. Oh wait, Arizona. Oh wait, no, Arizona's not. Don't worry about them. But no, I mean, yeah, I got a feeling it's going to be Vegas and
Las
Toronto.
Vegas. That's
Vegas
what I was
and
going to say.
Toronto.
They're going to be Vegas and Toronto because they're 2 biggest ones.
Yeah, I agree. Or Vancouver. Vancouver's sneaky because Vancouver's a really nice city. I've never been there, but I heard from a lot of people it's a really nice city, and I think Vancouver might sneak in, but I think it's Toronto.
Do we have rights for United States to go over to Vancouver?
Well, like I said, you'd have to stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying like us to get in Toronto, we don't have a problem. Can we get
Yes.
All right.
But like I said,
the
the
Hey, Kev.
non-essential thing is supposedly up July 21st. So after that, they might be able to ease up on the restrictions of traveling, and after that, they narrow down after the playoffs. Might be able to travel back and forth.
WWE.
Right.
Any sports entertainer will be considered an essential worker and can go back and forth.
But like I read, the Canada already approved NHL's plan.
Yeah.
So they are already exempt.
Yeah, they're exempt, but they have to follow the guideline, which is literally not go anywhere.
Kind of like the NBA, they're just going to be all down in Orlando and do the same thing.
It's interesting. It's interesting seeing the 6 cities though, because they're not picking 2 West Coast cities.
No.
So, you're basically.
Why would Vegas be?
Well, you've got Vegas, LA, Vancouver, Edmonton.
I didn't think LA was it.
Yeah, LA's one of the. LA's one
Chicago's
of
the other one.
I think.
So you've got Chicago and Toronto on the east.
Correct.
To me, I don't even consider Chicago on the east. That's the thing.
No, but I mean, it's.
I know. Yes,
compared to the others.
Yeah.
I think it would be Toronto and Vegas.
It wouldn't surprise
agree.
me.
I totally agree.
That's what I think it's going to be. I think it'll
Actually
be
trying to
fun
build up
more in
Vegas.
and
Yeah.
and that's just it. Is
You have the
just like
room.
with football. I mean, Vegas is going to be the new popular.
There's availability in hotels too.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
There's a
They're
lot
not,
of availability.
that's exactly what I'm saying. There are going to be a lot of hotel rooms, and those guys can rent out a room for a floor for themselves for a month or two. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
telling you that.
Who's getting the presidential suite and you see him grand?
Yeah. For $40 a night. If you play 1,000 chips in the slots.
You gotta use your Grubhub coupon.
All right, Doug, we're actually going to start with you, sir.
On which one?
I'm going to show you in here in a second.
You get to guess until then.
Bad mother. Lawrence Taylor was a renowned problem maker on the field and off the field. For every crazy on the field story you hear, there's probably a nutty off the field tale to go with it. Not only is he considered the best defensive player of all time, but there's truly never been a player that could get away with so much bull.
Shit.
The New York Giants, first round selection, Lawrence Taylor, linebacker, North Carolina. Almost every team in the league would have drafted LT at number 1. The Saints were not one of those teams. Taylor fell to the Giants as the second overall pick. The Giants GM said at the time that Taylor was the best college linebacker he'd ever seen. No matter the position, though, Taylor was probably also the number 1 drinker of that draft. That night, he says he downed 41 beers. And instead of being with his family, he had his drinking buddies with him. The drinking continued through his career. One former teammate said he would show up to the team meetings with liquor coming out of his pores. He said Taylor would drink all the mouthwash he could and sit in the back of the room to avoid getting caught.
A whole bottle of mouthwash.
In 1988, Taylor single-shoulderedly won a game over the 9-3 Saints. With a torn muscle in one shoulder, the All-Pro racked up 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a batted down pass. The New York Times called it an injury that would prevent some people from combing their hair. And head coach Bill Parcells called Taylor's performance the greatest game he'd ever seen.
I don't have hair.
Former NBA center Brad Daugherty played pickup games against LT. He once said Lawrence Taylor could play in the NBA. He wouldn't start, but he could help just about every team. He would have to lose a little weight, but he's so quick and strong. I've never seen a guy that big who could jump that high. He even said one time he was playing a pickup game and Taylor showed up late. There were only 4 more points left to be scored in the game, and LT responded, "If I ain't playing, no damn buddy's playing." Then he reached up and tore down the rim and backboard and just walked away with it. Bill Belichick has always said Taylor is the best defensive player of all time. The former Giants defensive coordinator said he could just tell by the look of the opponent on the other side of the line of scrimmage who was going to block him, and that was by how scared they were. Belichick added that even quarterbacks would give Taylor a look, and he could tell by the tear in the QB's eyes if it was a pass play or not. And frankly, who blames them? Especially after Taylor tackled and tragically broke Joe Theismann's leg on a pass rush blindside hit.
Imagine the backup for that guy.
Taylor seemed to sleep through meetings somewhat frequently throughout his career. And one morning, Belichick was furious when he caught him. As he yelled at Taylor to pay attention, the linebacker walked up to the chalkboard and diagrammed the play Belichick was about to describe, then sat back down and went back to sleep. Something no other human could possibly survive. This man was just a different specimen. Even with all the antics, he still produced better than any other player on that side of the ball in history. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, comment.
No.
Yeah.
Thanks for ending on a Lions score. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I picked him because he changed the way pass rushing is played, changed the way offenses attack, block the linebackers, the way that the linebackers go from a read and react to a more aggressive attack. I mean, he just changed the game completely. I mean, I don't think any single person did more on changing the game than LT.
One of the things he changed is blindside. Like you said, it made a lot of offenses
Yeah.
have to find that strong tackle
Exactly.
to put over there on that quarterback because that was the money on their team.
Yep.
And he was unstoppable in Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah. You put 2 guys, 3 guys on him, and you might stop him, but now you're leaving a gap in the middle for somebody else to come through. So, you stopped him, but you still allowed the sack.
That's one of the things why the Ravens were really good back in 2000, 2003. Where they had stopped Ray Lewis, but they also forgot about Scott, and then they turned around and then you got Suggs, and you got Ray Lewis and Suggs on the same corner. Yeah. Then it was almost impossible to stop them.
You say Suggs or
especially
Suggs?
Suggs. Suggs.
Oh, Suggs.
Or
Suggs. I'm sorry.
I know of very few players in the history of the NFL where the league changed the rules because one guy was too good at one thing, and eliminating a receiver on a play-by-play basis is what Mel Blount did. I know that Mel Blount was listed at something like 6'3", 205. I think that was a lie. I think he played the position probably at 6'3", 215, 220. Bigger than their middle linebacker, Jack Lambert. Certainly bigger than Jack Ham.
And I think we're about to lose.
Oh, there goes George again.
All right. Well, I'll just continue that then.
Feel free.
He muted himself.
He's been muted for a while. That's the funny thing.
Mel Blount, he was part of the Pittsburgh Steel Curtain. So 70s, you heard it. He was 6'3", 205 cornerback. He was just physically dominant against the wide receivers.
To face that bunch twice a year. Lucky me.
2nd down and 11.
There was a particular play on a Monday night game.
Oh, and Bob Trumpy cannot hold on.
And I don't remember anything.
Let's look at it again. The defensive coverage sandwiches Bob Trumpy.
I wore contact lenses, and he knocked one of my contact lenses off. And I look around a little bit, and I've been blinded. I didn't remember the play until we saw it on tape, but I still carry the scar. We'd go into the game thinking that we could get the ball to our wide receivers. And after the game, we watched the tape, and our wide receiver on Mel Blount's side would be in the concession stand. I mean, that's how far he shoved it. Everybody complained about what Pittsburgh was doing because Mel Blount was doing it so well. And that's why the league had to come up with the Mel Blount rule. You get 5 yards, you can get one chuck, and then you got to let him alone. Because, seriously, it was like we were playing with 10 guys on offense.
Even after the Mel Blount rule forced NFL defenses into using more zone coverage, Mel Blount's presence continued to force offenses to throw away from his side of the field.
People just were not going over there. And I don't know if you can pay anybody a higher compliment.
Still, Pittsburgh's king-sized cover man found the ball and dominated games, helping the Steelers to victory in 4 Super Bowls.
Helmet.
Dahlbach is back deep. And he winds up and throws. Intercepted by Blount at the 20.
They had a receiver-stuffing cornerback who would also tackle. They can eliminate one half of the field, basically. He was that strong. He was that good at what he did.
F the Steelers.
Now, why do they say number 44 when he's wearing 47?
Number 44 on the list, probably.
Yeah, on whatever list they were doing, top 50 of whatever. But yeah, in 1978, they created the Mel Blount rule, which is also known as illegal contact downfield. So once you get past 5 yards, you can't jam him anymore because Blount was just physically dominant and literally just jamming guys to the ground, or like the guy said, in the concession stand.
George,
you're muted.
That's the most time. That's the most I've seen a Cleveland Browns player on TV in a long time.
Listen, Wayne Fonts.
Well, he played in your era. When did you play against him?
1952.
Microwave unplugged itself again.
All right.
Oh, there goes
Are
the
you
internet.
getting disconnected again?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
No, you were.
The microwave.
I was going to say, you definitely were. I think George was downloading a Windows update.
What happened
No, it's because I think it's because of whenever the videos on YouTube are trying to.
You got too many of them.
I think that's why I'm getting kicked off too, because we allow her to go on YouTube and it eats up everything.
Or he's in the same house as Mike.
Yeah, that's the reason why
And a football season since we first learned about the
James, pick this guy.
air pressure gauges after the AFC Championship game
I
in
kind of
January
figured.
2015.
I don't know what happened. I have no explanation for it. I don't know what happened between the time that I touched it and, really till Monday morning, I have no idea what happened with the ball.
Liar.
The New England Patriots won that game and the Super Bowl 2 weeks later.
A fourth Lombardi trophy is headed to one Patriot place.
But they have been embroiled in controversy and in Tom Brady's case in court ever since. An NFL investigation found that some of the footballs the Patriots used in that game were not at the proper air pressure level. And it asserted that Brady was at least generally aware of a scheme to take the air out of the ball to give him a better grip. The Patriots angrily disputed the findings, but the league slapped Brady with a 4-game suspension and the team with the loss of first and fourth round draft picks and a $1 million fine.
Reluctantly, I'm going to accept what he has given to us and not continue this dialogue and rhetoric.
The Patriots chose not to fight their punishment, but Brady took the league to court last summer.
Free Tom Brady!
Free Tom Brady! Roger Goodell has said that Brady needs to bring evidence to the table. Brady has proclaimed his innocence from day one.
Brady won at the district court level when Judge Richard Berman found that Brady was not treated fairly during the investigation and punishment process. He vacated the suspension just days before the 2015 season began, and Brady did not miss a game. But the league appealed, and in early March, a 3-judge panel at the hearing struck a tone that sounded far less sympathetic to Brady. The judges repeatedly asked about Brady destroying his phone while the investigation was ongoing. One judge called the evidence of ball tampering compelling, if not overwhelming. While the judges deliberated, the NFL went on with its offseason, with the immediate future of one of its greatest players very much in question.
For the last 20 years, I've been playing football this time of year, and it feels good to be able to do that again.
What they don't mention is that following that season, the New England Patriots, the one where they accepted his suspension, front-loaded his contract with a signing bonus, made it so that he got all of his money in advance, got minimum wage basically for the rest of the year. He got all of his cash up front, and he lost absolutely nothing for that season, besides having a 4-week vacation, which they turned around, and I believe they won the Super Bowl that year as well. How far do these two have to go with Belichick and Tom Brady when it comes down to manipulation, trickery? And sometimes the NFL talks about going after them. My God, dude, they've helped them out more than anything. Think about the Tom Brady rule where you can't hit somebody below the knees. What about the tuck rule?
Yep.
Tuck rule, yeah.
The flake gate. Then you go back and just look at some of the shady stuff they pulled in the games.
What about the Super Bowl videotaping?
There you go.
Rams.
And
what
I believe
about and the one during the season just 2 years ago?
Right, where they got caught twice.
In Cleveland, of all places, to film Cincinnati.
And why do you need to cheat against them? I have no idea.
Either one,
It was
Cleveland or Cincinnati.
It was to fill the Cincinnati for the.
Why do you have to cheat for either one of those teams?
Exactly.
I mean, it was just. Well, and don't forget, during one of the playoffs, let's say just bent the rules against the Baltimore Ravens, where I believe it was during the fourth quarter, they ran in offensive linemen in. As they go up to the line, he turns to the ref and declares himself eligible real quick. They run up to the line, they snap the ball, and Tom Brady's throwing to offensive linemen down the field.
Not giving the opponent a chance to switch out player.
Right, and not allowing the Ravens time to realize that who's eligible for the offense. They turned around and had to make that rule to try to stop them from cheating. They've changed the game by trickery more than any team in the NFL.
Well, that's the thing.
Because it's a
Belichick knew the rule book.
Right.
And that's the thing. That's another thing I don't like either, is that you have to talk about a lineman coming in lining up in the tight end spot. If someone lines up in a tight end spot, it doesn't matter what number they're wearing. They're known as a tight end.
No.
So why should he have to pronounce his?
No.
You
have to have a certain number on for you to be designated for a tight end, because if you're the tackles, if they're wearing a 70, 60, or 50, and someone outside of them is wearing a 70, and you can't, it's covering up the lineman. You cannot do that. You have to be eligible. That's why.
But if he lines up in the tight end spot, so if there's two guys there,
you can't.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you still have to declare.
Unless you have a number as a receiver or running back or whatever it is, you have to declare yourself eligible. It's basically the old tackle eligible
play.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to declare it. What they did is they bent the rules by simply running to, as soon as right before the ball snapped, declaring themselves eligible and running to the line and and then snapping the ball quickly, not giving the Ravens the ability to adjust their defense.
He pulled a Sudbury.
Damn right he did. Dude,
I
need to go back to
knowing the rules on how to go around things. I mean,
that's a Sudbury.
Yeah,
I mean,
I got to be related to the dude somewhere down the line.
Make sure you get Canada. Check.
We're distant cousins, but there's a bloodline here. You know, you watch over and over again how much they bend the rules with the deflating the balls. Even though I don't believe they deflated as much as it.
Do you know?
That's why I said we're never going to be able to find that out.
But do you know who else was shady and shifty about this and where he learned it from? Bill Parcells.
Bill Parcells.
Absolutely.
Billy.
I mean, they listen, and don't get it wrong. NFL teams have been cheating for years. You're just looking at the kings of it.
And who got caught?
It's like NASCAR.
Other teams have been caught. They just don't make as big a deal about it.
They didn't get caught. There's getting caught, and then there's getting your nuts caught in a bear trap.
But look,
Patriots got their nuts caught in a bear trap.
But
did they suffer for it?
Wait, they get caught. They get caught cheating, but then they do it again. So who gives a shit?
And they win Super Bowls for it.
Well, hey, we'll see now.
They say cheaters don't win.
There this year.
Do you remember the commercial of Tom Brady after he won that one Super Bowl when he went to the locker and he says, and he pulls out all of his rings, and he goes, "I think I'm going to need a bigger locker." And this was, I believe, it was after his suspension. That for that year, he had. I think I need to have a bigger locker.
We'll see
just
this year
when put the screws to him.
We'll see this year.
Like Ryan's saying, this year, let's see which one really is. Was it Brady or was it Belichick?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, don't you think they've already? Tom is already stacking the deck. I mean, we talk about Belichick being the cheater. I mean, how did Gronk end up? He retired, then they let him go, and then he ends up coming out.
No, they didn't let it go.
I bet
they still had his rights, and so they traded it to Tampa Bay.
Right,
Roy.
They're just the best of the game about cheating.
All right.
Mary says she was a huge Patriots fan before Deflategate. She was.
Well, they're not the only team that pulled that stunt, by the way.
Much to talk about there. Four-man rush. McNabb buys time. Now will take off. And he's dragged down from behind. That'll be a horse collar and 15 yards on the end of it. And the very guy who they put the rule in, it's the Roy Williams rule, was the guy who dragged him down.
Defense number 31, horse collar tackle. 15 yards added into the run.
There's no arguing that one. I mean, that's an easy call, as you said. That's why they put the rule in, because of the tackle that Roy Williams actually had on Terrell Owens when Terrell was playing for the Philadelphia Eagles, and you just cannot grab the inside of the shoulder pad. They changed the rule this year. You can no longer even grab the jersey and yank them down like that. It's a very dangerous tackle. A lot of players have been injured with that tackle.
Thanks, Troy.
It still looks painful to watch even now.
That was one of the 10 rules that were made from the
Dallas Cowboys article about Dallas Cowboys rule.
George and I were talking about what players we're gonna fight here, and I was like, "Did you know there's 10 rules that were made because of the Cowboys?" And we were going over some of them, and it's quite funny. But this is actually the main one I want to talk about, is that it's intense to see someone happen like we just sat there and watched McNabb. You know, you get yanked back like that. Yeah, it's giant whiplash. I mean,
not only giant whiplash, but just the pressure on the front of the throat alone from the shirt.
He was a player that is strong, but his problem was he wasn't quick. And when you beat him, he found ways to tackle you. So like the stupid shoelace tackle, he'd reach out, you don't hit him. But his problem is he's like, oh, I can reach him, and he'd reach and he'd grab and yank back. Obviously, we saw they threw that rule in there on him, the horse collar rule, because of him. Yep. That was his major tackle. Every time he got beat, he grabbed you by the back of the helmet and got your shoulder pads, and was strong enough to pull you backwards. You know, it's just intense to see. Obviously a player changing the game on something like that, and thank God we have that rule, because how many players today would be injured if that rule wasn't to be applied?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, not just the whiplash. I mean, literally, your legs are folding under you as you're.
You suffer.
I'm surprised he didn't blow his knee out in that one.
Well, that's just it. I mean, they did that they put the rule in 05, and they mentioned the Terrell Owens in 04. Because Terrell Owens broke his ankle on a tackle by Roy Williams. That wasn't the only break, though, because in 04, Roy Williams also tackled Musa Smith that way and broke his leg.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he massively sidelined 2 players using that very tackle the year before.
Right, but because he didn't do it to an all-star.
He did.
Well, I know. They mentioned Terrell Owens.
Yeah,
I totally get it.
Well, they didn't do it by an all-star. They didn't care.
Yeah. But back in the days, did you? I mean, if you look at the film, did you ever see those guys doing horse collars tackles like that though?
Dude, back in the day, you used to watch them tear down rip their helmets off their top of their heads.
Right.
Yeah, but you never saw them grab them by the back.
60s, oh yeah, absolutely.
You never saw them grab by the back of the shoulder pads though.
Because they didn't need a lot.
They never got beat. They never got past them.
No,
so we're talking about how to get around the rule. So we'll use Troy Polamalu because he has long hair. Hair is not known as part of the jersey. You can pull any player's hair.
Yank that weave.
Yeah.
You can yank that all you want
that weave
and pull him down. It will not be considered as horse collar unless it's up behind the neck.
It has to be inside of.
It has to be inside.
Until LeBron James is glad they don't have that rule.
That's why they tell players, if you don't want your hair pulled, cut it.
Yep.
Because that's another thing they used to. Polamalu was one of them too. I can't remember the receiver that did it. He had long hair, and he always got tackled by his hair. And they used to keep calling horse collar on it. And that's when coaches said that's not a horse collar.
It was the Green Bay Packers receiver.
No, wasn't what's his name? Hushmanzada from Cincinnati.
TJ Hushmanzada, yeah.
Who's your mama?
I was gonna say it's a receiver.
Who's your mama?
Who's your mama?
That's why I went bald, so no one can tackle my hair.
I mean, but it's plain and simple. If you
I might have a small problem with that.
or cut it. I mean, there is ways. I understand there is ways to get around the rule, but I mean, every inch counts. I guess that's what she said.
Set.
He jumped all over that one pretty fast.
Out of zone innuendo.
So what are you going with? You gonna go with the Michael Irvin?
No.
Deion Sanders?
No. Mr. Burrich.
Well, everybody picked a player. I picked a coach.
That's who I was backing too. I was backing this Sam horse.
I almost picked a player, but then it pissed George off, so I went with the coach.
F you, Bert.
So since you put Paul Brown up there, I'm going with Bill Parcells. No. So I'm going with Paul Brown because this guy was way, way, way ahead of his time. I know, Suds, that it's a Cleveland guy, but this guy,
that's all right.
He's better than Wayne Fonts. I could tell you that right now. This guy was way ahead of his time. He was the first. He's considered the father of modern offense because if you look at the West Coast offense, who did Bill Walsh learn his offense from? Paul Brown. He was the first coach to integrate in pro football, integrate with having Marion Motley and Bill Willis in the starting lineup in 1946, which both of them are in the Hall of Fame. He's the first coach to have his players wear face masks. I think Otto Graham was the first one to wear it because he had a broken jaw, so they devised a face mask to protect his jaw during a game. He was the first coach to have his players undergo classroom instruction. He was the first coach to have pro football coach to use film study, which if you go to any NFL team now, they're always studying film. They have their own film department, if you want to call it that. I kind of mentioned this with the baseball, the taxi squad. He was the first one to have what they call now a practice squad. It was called the taxi squad back then. They were basically the only team to have one. Their owner, Mickey McBride, owned a taxi squad. So the players that would just barely miss making the roster would be on the taxi squad, which meant they actually drove taxis for Mickey McBride, but then also was practicing with the team just in case someone got injured or everything, so they can get called right up. He was the first coach to I've heard stories about this, and read stories. He was the first one to experiment with a radio in the quarterback's helmet. In 1956, they started doing this, and they actually got CB from the cab drivers, or or they were getting
the airplane.
I was going to say the airplane, or they were shocked by it because it was faulty wiring because of the rain. And plus, who is the only person who can say that they were founding fathers of two current NFL teams?
He was also the first coach to have the play the role in breaking the professional football's color barrier.
Well, that's what I said with integrate Bill Mary Motley and Bill Willis as in the lineup. Suds, Bill Belichick is a tree of Paul Brown because Bill Parcells was a tree of Paul Brown. I'm telling you.
You just asked me who could say that they're the father of two NFL coaches, and Bill Parcells has two sons in the NFL.
No, I'm talking about two teams.
I was just joking around.
No, I know. Paul Brown was basically with Mickey McBride was the owner of the Cleveland Browns, and then when dumbass Art Modell fired him from Cleveland Browns, he went down to Cincinnati, and he was the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals. So he is the father of two current NFL teams. So to me, he is the innovator by far of any coach in the NFL.
Suds, I think you were referring to Buddy Ryan, who had two sons.
No, was it Bill Belichick's son, a defensive coordinator just last year?
Yeah, with who? New England.
With New England, but I was just saying he is a coach. I believe one of his other sons.
I'm talking about who
the tree who came.
No. Who was the owners of, or who founded the two of the current NFL teams?
Oh, okay.
Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Both the same colors.
No. Cincinnati Bengals went off the Massillon Tigers colors, which are black and orange.
Burnt orange.
The Browns went off the Bowling Green colors, which are brown and orange. So get it right, Michael. F you.
Wait, did you just pull a female color quotient going on here? I mean, as a man, we just say orange and brown.
Well, there's a difference between orange and brown and orange and black. Come on. I mean, I know I'm an umpire. I'm not that blind.
Oh, you're saying Cincinnati's orange and black?
Yeah.
Oh, I always thought it was orange and brown.
No, they're orange and black. George, pull up.
That just tells you how much I paid.
No, please don't.
Pull up Cincinnati Bengals jersey.
Love of God, no.
It's orange and black.
Even their own fans don't want to see them.
Jesus.
George, are we moving on, or you got
yellow now?
Yes, we're sticking with Mr. Birch and Mr. Zolt. You both came up in a dueling aces tie with the Curt Flood rule.
Go ahead, Zolt. You can go.
I've only got a few notes here. Curt Flood played 12 seasons with St. Louis, the Cardinals. Got traded to the Phillies in 1969 and refused to report. And not only did he refuse to report, he sued Major League Baseball to attempt to grant him free agency. So the case was Flood versus Kuhn. He ended up losing. If I read it right, the judge actually said he deserved it, but due to MLB's antitrust exemption, he lost.
Well, was that the Supreme Court one or just the lower judge?
That's a great question.
Well, the Supreme Court one, he lost 5-3. One judge recused himself who was in favor of Flood but he recused himself because he owned stock in Anheuser-Busch, who the Busch family owns St. Louis Cardinals. And the other judge was going to vote for Flood, but the 11th hour he changed it to Major League Baseball. But yeah, he was basically the founding father of free agency.
Yeah.
He didn't want to go. He basically said he was a hell of a player too. It wasn't like he was like a 250 hitter with whatever, but he was a hell of a player. He just didn't want to go, and he wanted to stay in St. Louis, and he thought that talking to the ownership and everything, that he was going to stay there the whole time, and they said no. One of the worst announcers in the world was involved in that, Tim McCarver. Sorry, I had to put that in there. But the thing was with him, the two things that with Curt Flood was he was out of baseball when free agency actually started. In 1976, pitchers Andy Messersmith, which is a household name, and Dave McNally, they actually agreed to play a season with no contract. And so basically it went to arbitration, and the arbitrator said, listen, if they're not going to do a contract, then they're basically able to go free agency. And that was the downfall of the reserve clause, which I'm going to explain the reserve clause here in a minute. And that's when free agency basically opened up in baseball. The reserve clause basically was saying a player was a team's property for life. So the player had no say in what anything he said, anything that happened in his career, I should say. I'm sorry. But once that happened, Curt Flood was way, he was done. He was, past his, he wasn't even in baseball anymore. But they actually have the Curt Flood rule now, which is known as the 10-5 rule, which you hear that a lot now because of a lot of guys staying, in baseball and staying with the same, which is surprisingly staying with the same team. Normally you don't hear about that anymore. Everybody's just going all over the place. But what is the Curt Flood rule? The 10-5 rule says that when a player has played for a team for 5 straight years and played in Major League Baseball for a total of 10 years, that player can refuse to be traded or say, no, I don't want to be traded to that team, or give them. I didn't really get in depth on that, or saying that he can only be traded to a certain number of teams. I don't know if Zolt, you saw that or not, but
yeah, I did. I didn't see it.
Yeah, so he was basically the architect of free agency in baseball, because once he did that, man, it just opened up the floodgates, and everybody, like I said, he did not see the fruits of his labor, basically, if you want to put it that way, because by then he was already retired and everything. But he was one that said, listen, I've been here in 12 years, in St. Louis, I should have a deciding factor of where I should go and everything. And that was the start of basically free agency and players going all over, not all over the place, but going from team to team.
If you follow the 10-5 rule, you can basically go to management with a list of teams that you'll only accept a trade to.
Yeah, that's what it
is. Say, I'll play for you, but if you decide to trade me, I'll only accept the trade to these 6 cities or these 9 cities.
No trade clause. That's what it is now.
Yeah.
It's a no trade clause.
It's an automatic no trade clause.
Yeah.
But still 10 years of experience with the last 5 having to be with that specific team.
Yeah.
So before you go to Mr. Robinson, I just want to say I got to get going. I got to get out to work. So thank you for letting me go. See you guys next week. I might be a little late because I got to umpire, but thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Have a good one. See you next time, Bird.
Always fun doing Dueling Aces with everybody. Thank you, guys.
Welcome, Bird. Thank you.
Robinson would cross a barrier that had not been crossed before, and in the process, he became a voice for the voiceless.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rick.
Oh no.
He's out again.
Lost George again.
I can't take this one over.
Who had Jackie?
Ryan did.
And he left?
No, Ryan had Curt Flood with me.
I had Curt Flood, god damn it.
Oh, I thought Ryan was gone. I only see him 3 pictures. I got Robinson. I took Jackie because he, in fact,
oh.
No, not yet.
That's all, folks.
Apparently.
Go ahead, Akers.
So you obviously know that Jackie changed the 2 worlds of baseball here. Finding a player down there that in the Negro League, pulling him up into the Major League was the wall breaker. I mean, with them do with the, here we go. We doing it? Getting there? Nope. All right. With that happening, changes up everything going on, because it was a major break into Major League Baseball, allowing other teams to start searching for other players that were just as good. And, you know, with the Brooklyn doing that, it opened up the door, and she's that how many players changed after that, you know, not that they had to, but most of them. And I actually talked to a gentleman who's here in Sandusky that he was actually in the Jackie Robinson era. And, you know, and I asked him, I said, do you think that movie is based off of, obviously off of the true culture, what we're told? And he says, they don't tell you as bad as it used to be. I mean, he says, the video kind of sugarcoats it a little bit, but he says for the first month and a half, it was hard to be Jackie because, you know, coming around in certain areas. And then for the Brooklyn to change what their tactics were and getting Jackie to play, it was, you know, obviously as a stunt tactic for money, and it turned out to be in their favor. And obviously we know that Jackie's here today because we even mark him one day every year, the 42. And
where every player in baseball wears that number.
Yep. And even though Mariano Rivera was the last player to ever actually wear it without being retired, but the number 42 is officially retired. Nobody in MLB is allowed to wear it anymore. And it's amazing. This is one of the actual best histories I love about baseball, is seeing something like this change. I mean, I love histories and how things evolve into something. To grow up, if I was alive in that era, I'm pretty sure I would probably be a touch person, because I'm just a intaking of all players. But this definitely was a different lifespan on a lot of occasions.
Oh yeah.
All right, Doug.
Okay.
You're on next, sir.
I went with Bob Feller, basically because he's more or less the father of the fastball. In today's game, 90 mile an hour, 95 mile an hour, that's commonplace. But 30s, 40s, you never heard that. You've never seen that. He was able to rack up 266 wins, and he didn't play for 3.5 years because he was serving in WW2. He could have easily had 300 wins. He ended up with 2,500 strikeouts, and he could have added 600, 700 more for 3,300 strikeouts. And every fastball pitcher models themselves, in a sense, after Bob Feller, because he changed the way hitters approach the game. He changed the way, I'm a pitcher, I can now incorporate the fastball. It's almost unhittable. So, being a pitcher myself, I had to go with a pitcher.
Oh, and it's pretty smooth that you did. But as I said, I've got a surprise. I have a surprise. Looky at what I found.
Johnny Bench's.
Let's see if we can play it.
Right.
Yeah, right.
After the ad.
It was kind of funny because every time we were talking, it started coming back, and then we're like, no.
I'm Johnny Bench, and I'm here with the only 3 players who have been on my baseball bench team for all 5 years. Sam, Michelle, and Louie. Once you turn your hips, you really can go towards the ball and you can explode.
Yep. I remember that was when I was a kid.
Like a dance step, would you say? Just like a cha-cha.
Hey, it's Kool-Aid Man.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's play ball.
Yeah.
And for all you bunchers out there at home, keep practicing those tips, and good luck at the plate.
He was my number 2, basically for changing the catcher position from just a defense to an offense and defense position. 3 times he hit more than or dove in more than 125 RBIs. For a catcher, that's unheard of back then. And you wouldn't have guys like, Buster Posey today if it wasn't for players like Johnny Bench back then.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, since Suds, you got to kick this off, we're totally going to make sure that you get to clean up hit.
So Bob,
that's the one I've been waiting for.
Yeah, that was my number.
I'm wondering if somebody was going to hit that one.
Absolutely, because he literally and physically changed the game.
Yeah.
In the 1950s, he had joined the Major League Baseball. He had over 251 wins, 3,117 strikeouts, with a 2.9 ERA, 9-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champ, Cy Young winner. But 1968, it was the year of the pitcher. He was so dominant of a baseball player. Now, mind you, you want to take a 2.9. I'd take a pitcher 2.9 at any day of the week.
Oh,
but his ERA in 1968 was 1.12. He had 13 shutouts. He started 12 games in June and 12 games in July, played the whole game. He completed the whole game and was so dominant in that era, in that year, that the Major League Baseball actually said, you know what, we're going to take off half the mound, drop it over 5 inches, and lower in the strike zone to allow the hitters a better chance. This man physically, they decided, you know what, we're not going to help you, we're going to hurt you. We're going to take away your dominance and lower the mound so the hitters had a chance, a snowball's chance in hell of actually getting it. He still ended up with a 2.9 ERA after the 1.12.
Oh, stop right there, G.
That is incredible ERA.
Yeah, his ERA really didn't change much even after the mound change.
No, it didn't.
Nope.
Could you imagine if they would have kept it up there at that, what he could have done?
The only thing that went down is maybe his win totals would started in 71, which is a couple years after the mound went down.
Could you imagine what he could have done with that 5 inches higher? The potential he could have had.
Can you imagine if they gave that 5 inches to Randy Johnson?
Holy cow, where that ball would be coming at you.
That bird might still be alive today.
That's true. That's true.
But airplanes might be in danger. That could sit.
That's a 1 in a million shot. I don't think they'll ever see that ever again.
Buzzers couldn't even get it to happen. But yeah, that pitching mound. I mean, like you were saying before, I was reading about it because he was also one of the ones I was going to write down. But when they changed that pitching mound, like you said, the same thing. It was to hurt the pitchers. I mean, but
with a player like
really didn't hurt him that much. But it did hurt him.
Yeah, it did hurt him. And potentially it hurt the other pitchers more than him. He's clearly one of the most dominant pitchers ever. But it hurt other pitchers even more, especially probably shorter pitchers. Now they're throwing it at a different angle.
Yeah. What was the one of the stats they pulled up is he had, what was he, 29-7? No, 23-9 or something like that as a record with the 15-inch mound. And when they lowered it to 10, he didn't even touch 20 the next year. But like I said, his ERA was still down, but his win-loss record went lower.
But does that mean he got pulled from games?
That's what I didn't understand.
You can't really tell what exactly happened with the information that you have because of lack of video.
Obviously, every year a pitcher is different. You know, you're never going to keep the same amount of stats of going with the win-loss ratio.
Right.
Or
to have 13 shutouts in a season. In one season, to have 13 shutouts. You got players who go their career and have one. or none, but they have 13 in one season.
That's what it was. 13 shutouts with was it 12 wins, 17 wins straight?
Well, he won 12. He started 12 games in June and 12 games in July, and finished all of those games. He completed all.
That's 3 a week.
Yeah, that's just nasty.
Yeah.
And to have still have a 1.1, that's baffling how that could possibly happen. What is that? So one hit per what?
1.12 runs per 9 innings given up.
So you're giving up, if you're playing three games in a week, you're giving up
3 hits.
You're really a little bit more than 3 hits or 3 runs in an entire week.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got players who give that much up in an inning.
Bryce.
No. No, sorry. His stats were actually pretty solid tonight, including, even with the hit batsman.
It doesn't count as a hit. It doesn't count as a hit against him.
No, but it does raise the whip a little bit.
Hey, listen, you got to get those people off the plate.
Yeah, that's right.
Brush them off, baby. Then you can go to the outside corner. They can't hit.
Oh, but that next kid backed up, didn't he?
That's his ass did.
I'll tell you what, though, you talk about that too. So I do U10 softball, and I'm going to be a coach this year for the softball and this association we got going on. Last year there was a girl, as good as, like we were talking about Bryce. This girl was good. She can, as 11-year-old, 10-year-old, she had a nice fast pitch, straight up, underhanded, swinging in there. You could hear the ball whistling through. And we were facing a team last year, and when she threw it, you can tell she kind of lost control of it, and it was going to go inside. And she hits that girl right in the rib cage. Every parent on the side just goes, ooh. Well, obviously the girl even said sorry. You could tell she said sorry. And the next batter comes up, she gets back in that motion again, and she throws it back into her strike zone, throws the next pitch strike, throws the third pitch, lost it, and pegs the girl right in the rib cage again. Not the same girl, the next batter. And the game was really out of reach. The umpire actually called it.
Yeah.
And I mean, when he heard that second rib cage hit, oh my God, it sounded like a hollow body at a defense class. Oh my God, it was horrible. This girl is great talent, but it just sucks because the 2 people that were in front of her were at that age range where they really shouldn't be in the 10U. They were like 8, but they were advanced for hitting and speed and all that, so they moved them up. That's what I'm doing. Some of the kids that are around here too. But you get a girl like that, and that's why I'm like, hopefully that Bryce will, we brush this off of him hitting somebody.
Oh yeah,
people got to go to the next person.
It's been he went 11 innings without hitting somebody. So.
Yeah,
it
happens. I mean, I'm a kid.
No,
when I played in the league, I got an award in my league for being on base the most because it was ironically I never stood on the plate. It's just I was small, and they hit me.
Yeah,
they physically hit me.
Well, no, Brad Stillings has been working with him on his accuracy and everything, and just recently he's been showing him to ramp it up and start hurling it in there. So I'm sure come Friday night it'll be a interesting ordeal to see if he ends up pitching again, to see what kind of control he'll have. He'll probably throw a little bit with me tomorrow, and then we'll see what happens on Friday and then going into next week. So I'll try to have a little bit of video I'll post on the Dueling Aces page.
Make sure we don't get no chain links this time.
Well, I'll do my best. It's been a little tricky.
I was saying that because, as a baseball owner, I give Bryce, $10,000 to play baseball. You think he'd sign that contract?
Jesus. All right, gents, it's wrapped up that time. It's time to rock and roll.
One more thing.
Jesus, what?
Fire away, sir.
NHL Hall of Fame inductees were announced today.
Really?
Yeah.
Spitfire.
Just want to throw that out there. Jerome McGinley in his first year that he was eligible. Marion Hossa, Kim St. Pierre, Kevin Lowe, Doug Wilson all went in as players, and then Ken Holland got elected as builder.
St. Pierre and Lowe.
Kim St. Pierre, Kevin Lowe, Doug Wilson, Marion Hossa, Jerome McGinley.
They were inducted.
Can't believe Jerome
they were
got on
announced
the first shot.
today as being the inductees this year.
Well, I know somebody on the Mud City page who just had one of those jerseys. He had an autographed jersey. I bet you he's kicking himself for getting rid of it now. It's like, oh man, you didn't want to turn around and razz that a week before he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, did you? Whoops. That jersey just went up a couple hundy.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt. That's why you kind of hang on to those things just in case.
A little bit longer.
Just
I still have an Alex Rodriguez glove that I still, just keeping it around for the hell of it.
Well, that's why this Dirk Nowitzki basketball is going to hang tight over here just a little bit longer.
But sometimes you hang out too long, the price goes down.
No matter what.
Right. Well, once he gets the Hall of Fame induction himself, then we'll turn around and.
He's a hands down. He's a hands down for Dallas, no matter what.
Oh yeah.
He should be a first year on the ballot, marked in.
Absolutely.
100%.
Probably the most dominant European player to ever play the game.
Yeah.
No, I can agree with that. Anything else?
German, yeah. German.
Suds?
Yeah.
Nope.
Excellent.
I got nothing.
Well, I was just going to say excellent job in topic choice for the week. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that.
Even a blind chicken gets kernel corn every once in a while.
And with that, we bid you a good night, sir.
Good night.
Doug, anything from you, sir?
I am absolutely good.
All righty.
All right.
Well, later, dude.
Later. I'm out of here, folks.
Raiders, move out.
Mr. Zolt, any parting words?
Not unless you want to get into the details of the Paul Solana rule in the NFL. But that's about it.
What?
Not really.
I'll throw that in the chat.
Yeah. Good idea. Good night, sir.
Good night.
As to everybody else. You got me, you got Akers. I'll turn around and kick you over to the trivia question one more time over here. Get my. Oh, damn.
Rock on, Wayne.
Hoping it's there. Should be. It worked. All right.
What the hell?
You know the remote you. I'm going to wait mine to drop.
And with that, we'll catch everybody on the flip side. Until next week, see ya.